Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with Riv, and this is episode 220. In this episode, OG joins us to talk about Justin Fields, Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen, Panthers trade pieces, Warriors punishment to Draymond, and we give our bold predictions for the upcoming NBA season. OG joins us once again, a friend of the show. Welcome back.
Absolutely, fellas. Like I said, I don't really bother with a lot of people, but when you guys call, I got no problem coming through, no doubt about it.
And every time you say that, puts the biggest smile on my face because I really appreciate that. We're super grateful for that.
Absolutely, brother, no doubt.
And right now, Drew, he was stuck at a Yankees game. That's why he's not joining us. Joel is in Tampa. He's on vacation right now. Yeah, he's in Tampa, I believe. He's Orlando. In Florida. He's watching. He's gonna watch Anthony Richardson play tomorrow.
The Florida Gators.
Yeah. So Drew just watched the Yankees lose to the Cleveland Indians, right?
Yeah, they just lost. I think it went the 10th inning. Embarrassing. Yeah. Hey, OG.
Yes, sir.
Did you watch our viral video?
Our viral video. Oh, well, I did see the one with you and Joel going at each other about KD. I did see that.
Yeah, did you see that? Yeah.
I did see that. I thought that was really interesting. I didn't hate it, to be honest with you. I didn't hate it. I get a lot of people that, they're on one side of the fence with KD, and then there's other people on the other side of the fence with KD. And I think we got to accept the fact of who KD really is. KD is buckets. That's who he is.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less. KD is buckets. And KD is more buckets on a bigger stage. But it just looks different, and people have a tendency to make him out to be more than that because he's on better teams. Well, in reality, KD, at the end of the day, he's buckets. Let's call it what it is.
What do you think about the take, though? Do you think that he is – because people got it misconstrued. Some people thought that Riv was saying he's not a legendary player. That's not what he was saying. He believes he's not a legendary playoff performer. What do you think about that?
Well, when you think about legendary playoff performers, Jordan, James, Jabbar, Doc, Bird, Bryant, I can't say that KD has done anything. What's his signature? What is KD's signature game? He went off in I think it was game 4 or game 3 of the Western Conference. Of the NBA Finals against Cleveland. But
I think it was 3.
I haven't seen him have something where I'm going. I did see a different guy. Don't get me wrong, Riv. I saw a different guy in 2017 than I saw in 2012. Yeah. I did see a different guy there, but when I think about legendary playoff performances, Kevin Durant's name is not one that comes to mind when I think about guys in the playoffs like that. I think about Kevin Durant being awesome in the playoffs, but there's a difference between being that he was good in the playoffs, he was awesome, but there's a difference between being that and being legendary, where they're doing stuff that in 20 years, we're still going to be talking about that. I can't remember a KD performance where I can go, like, in 20 years, this is still going to be a big deal.
That's a good point. And just to piggyback off that question, Dwayne Wade has a legendary moment in 06. Is he considered a legendary playoff performer, or is somebody like Kawhi considered that as well because of what he did in 2019?
There's a difference between a legendary performance and a legendary performer. Mm-hmm. Like Wade was a legendary performer. So, we saw what he did in the finals, which was fantastic. But we also saw him drag that Miami Heat team in 08 to the playoffs. We also saw him drag that team in 09 to the playoffs. And what he did against that Boston Celtics team when he was leading the league in scoring. And, they had no business in that series, and they actually won a game. That's something that we will talk about later on. So Leonard is another guy where Leonard had playoff performances. I'm not on board with Leonard being a playoff performer yet. He had a great playoff performance, like what he did in 19 when they played against both Milwaukee and they played against Golden State. I think that was a legendary performance, but I think that we don't give enough credit to how good that Toronto team was. I think that Toronto team was a lot better. We're talking about a 59-win team that basically all they did was they traded out two players, which Leonard was clearly better than DeMar DeRozan, no doubt about that. But, to get off of Valanciunas later on and to bring in Gasol and to move off of Danny Green, that was a damn good team. And to add Leonard to that, there wasn't much that he had to do, But what he did do was a great performance. But I can't put him in the legendary playoff performers status just yet. No, I can't do that.
D-Wade was a good one because I think he's one of those guys that's like on the fence. Like he can be, you can argue he can be a legendary player, you can argue he cannot be. I just think his peak was just too damn short.
I think D-Wade, he has a better signature moment than Kevin Durant. 06 tops anything KD has done. But when you look at the longevity of their playoff careers, KD is a better playoff performer when you talk about longevity and just who's done it longer.
Yep. D-Wade's peak was extremely short, which sucked.
Right.
Yeah, it was.
Well, also, too, Rev, when I think about D-Wade, I mean, the fact that he took a back seat to James, and in the process of him taking a back seat to James, I mean, he did fall off a cliff, too.
Oh, yeah. I think, like, with Wade, for me, like, a lot of people forget this. Like, even before the 06 finals, he was giving Detroit fits. Like, talk about the Detroit team with Rasheed Wallace, with Ben Wallace. Like, he was giving them fits at a young age, even before LeBron seen them. So, like, I remember the D-Wade before that. Like, I went back. I go look at the footage. The D-Wade before he went to the finals when they were making the playoffs and he was doing his thing. So, I know what you're talking about in terms of D-Wade. But, like, you said, his career fell off when he went to, like, when LeBron got there because his knees got so banged up.
Right.
And he just got old and he was just bad, especially in 2013, 2014. He was really bad.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'd be honest with you, Riv. You just brought up a really good point. I mean, if he doesn't hurt his ribcage in 05 in the East Finals, I don't know if Detroit beats them. I don't know if Detroit beats them.
That was a 6-7 game series?
Yeah, that was a 7-game series. If he doesn't hurt his ribcage, and I think it was game 5 that he hurt his ribcage. Because if he doesn't hurt his ribcage, I think they beat Detroit.
Yeah, that was a tough team.
Yeah.
Whenever I think about those Pistons team, I always get down because had they just drafted one of the star players from the 03 draft, they could have won multiple championships.
Joe, I think that's where you and me differ on this, man, because, and I catch a lot of heat for this, I think Larry Brown would have wrecked Carmelo. I do. I think he would have completely destroyed Carmelo. I think about what Anthony was on that 04 Olympic team. James played the third least minutes on that team. Wade played the second least minutes on that Olympic team. Carmelo Anthony played the least minutes on that Olympic team. So I'm going to take that Carmelo Anthony, who had already had a great rook season when he was arguably the rookie of the year.
Rookie that year.
Right. He was arguably the rookie of the year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take him. I'm going to put him on that Detroit Piston team that's loaded with vets. Not only are they loaded with vets, they're a championship caliber team who Larry Brown is already not on the fence about how he feels about young players. He's just going to stick Carmelo Anthony in that lineup and he's going to be 18, 20 a game. No, I think he would have been yanking Anthony in and out of that lineup, and I think he would have been screwing him up.
So you think Denver was the best situation for him?
I do, because they built that unit around him. Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense. Larry Brown, I mean, he's the reason why the 04 team didn't win a gold medal in the Olympics. Yeah. That team was stacked with talent.
That team was so nasty.
For his greater moments that Larry Brown, of course, he's a great coach. You know, he was a coach for the Sixers when AI went to the finals. But there's also a lot of stories about players that played with him that do not like him very much as well. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. On to the first topic of the show, Thursday night football. We witnessed one of the worst games on Thursday night, the Commanders and Bears. It was horrible. And I had this thought the other day.
3 weeks in a row?
Yeah, and I had this thought the other day. There is no way that if I'm a company, if I'm paying the NFL $1 billion, we're airing the absolute worst primetime games on Thursday. The Bills-Chiefs game that's coming up is a 4 o'clock game. We couldn't put that on a primetime slot. I don't know. Commanders and Bears was a bad game. Both teams are now 2-4. The Commanders won 12-7 or 12-9. I believe it was one of those final scores. But I think the real storyline that came from this game is Justin Fields and whether or not the Bears are going to ruin him as a quarterback. Because a lot of young quarterbacks have been in bad situations, but Justin Fields statistically is one of the worst. He's off to an all-time bad start. And that begs the question if it's too late for him to recover from this situation, from this regime that did not draft him at quarterback, and if he can ultimately be a good NFL quarterback. What do you think, Riv?
I think it's still too early to jump the gun. You know, I think you can look at the situation, you can say it's fucking terrible, of course, but you can also look in Justin Fields and say, well, he hasn't looked good either. You know, the minimal opportunities that he's given to throw the ball, he's thrown interceptions, he's missed a lot of reads. But at the same time, last 2 weeks in the second halves of both games, he's looked well. He's looked like he's recovered coming into the second half. He's made some big-time plays. He makes some big plays with his feet, too. He on Thursday, he got hit a few times that looked like bad hits. But I think, like, this situation is so fucked up because for Fields, it's like he can go out there and it looks like the staff doesn't trust him, but at the same time, the team isn't as good as you want it to be. We knew coming into the season this was going to be one of the worst situations for a rookie. But for me, I just think if you was on the ship before the season started, I don't think there's nothing that could have shown you. Because if you saw the tape, this was a lot of the stuff he's doing now was his problem coming in. Mm-hmm. So I feel like nothing should have swayed you now. He's shown the ability to run with the ball. He's shown the ability to maneuver. You've seen some highlight plays. It may not be a lot, but you've seen some highlight plays in these last couple weeks, especially that one throw he threw to Darnell Mooney, which was a fucking dime. He put it right on the money. Mooney made that catch. Shout out to Mooney. But he's made some plays. So I think with the situation, $100 million cap that Chicago is going to have, I think you have to at least give it one more year just to give him another chance.
Well, when I think about quarterbacks, more young quarterbacks are ruined more than they're developed in pro football. And in this situation in Chicago, so prime example would be, Joe, with your Jets. I did not like Sam Darnold coming to the Jets because I didn't think how they were going to develop him would be beneficial to him. Him coming out of college, he was a turnover machine. So I'm looking at him getting on that Jets team, and I'm thinking they like to throw the ball. Well, that's not conducive to his game. And what they're going to do is they're going to try to air it out, and they're going to really expose who Sam Darnold is, and they're going to ruin him. And that's what they ended up doing with him. Well, I'm thinking about what Justin Fields is doing right now in Chicago. So he's on his second offensive coordinator in as many seasons. So that's also a problem because now I got to learn new verbiages. I got to learn a new offense. I got to learn new cadences. I got to learn all of these new things with this offense that I'm in. That's number one. Number two, the offensive line that I'm in, the offensive line that's in front of me is one of the most horrific offensive lines that I have. That's bad simply because I need to learn the offense. Well, I can't learn the offense in terms of my progressions. This guy. I can't learn that if I'm on the run every down. So that's going to be a problem for me also. When I think about his weapons, now I'm not really sure, Riv, how you feel about Mooney and about St. Brown, but I think they're average at best.
I like Mooney. I do like Money.
I think that they're average at best. I'm not blown away by Montgomery, and the reason why I'm not blown away by Montgomery is because I think about a running back who isn't really that physical. He's not really that big. Now that offensive line isn't great, but that could just open up so much more of their offense if they had not even an elite running back, but a better running back, and they don't have that. And I think that the situation that they have Justin Fields in right now isn't conducive to his game, and they're on the way to wrecking him. And I don't like it at all.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And Justin Fields learning new verbiage, like you mentioned, it helps if we know it's a coaching staff that is proven. Like Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, you go from Urban Meyer to now Doug Peterson. You're now getting help in that offense, and he's asked to do a lot, but he's a big-time player. Justin Fields, he had flaws coming out of college. We knew that he didn't scan the field very well.
Slow at it.
His throwing mechanics weren't the best. His accuracy, at least when I watched him, was a bit spotty. And the Ohio State offense is one progression stuff, so you're not asked to do much, and that's why we saw Dwayne Haskins, Cardale Jones. Many Ohio State quarterbacks have big-time years at Ohio State. Justin Fields just happened to have a big-time year as well. But when I look at the Bears, there's just problems everywhere. Outside of the defense, which they have them playing pretty hard, the offensive line's a wreck. They have a fifth-round tackle starting. Their centers are in and out of the lineup. So you can't build that continuity within the offensive line. Darnell Mooney, I think you said it perfectly. He is their best wide receiver, but if you put him on any good football team that's actually in a playoff hunt, he is a third guy on that team. There are some outliers like the Packers or maybe Kansas City who they have some guys that Darnell Mooney might be better than, but for the most part, he's a third guy. He's a low-end wide receiver too. You don't have a possession receiver.
You put him with the Cowboys. What do he look like? What does he look like in Dallas?
Yeah, I think CeeDee Lamb's better. You can argue Michael Gallup is better than him, so he could be the third receiver. And David Montgomery, to me, he's always been somebody who's gotten a lot of hype, but I view him as somebody who is a bit too slow for my liking. Khalil Herbert has been better than him this season. Khalil Herbert, when you watch him play, he has way more burst. Justin Fields, the ideal scenario for him is playing in an offense where there's a lot of play action, there's bootlegs, and you don't have to drop back to pass as much. But the thing about it is that the Bears can't play that way too often because teams now catch up to that, and now they stop that. So you are forcing Justin Fields to drop back, and when he does drop back, you see these issues pile up. You see sometimes where he misses a wide open crosser that is coming right down his face where he could hit it. But then you also see flashes. That throw to Dante Pettis on Thursday night I thought was one of the best throws I've seen. Those electrifying plays for Justin Fields are still there. The big time run in the fourth in the final drive of the game. He could have led a game-winning drive had Darnell Mooney caught the ball. So Justin Fields, to me, I still think has a lot of talent. I wasn't very high on him coming out of college, but I feel like teams ruin quarterbacks, and teams have to be patient. The two prime examples I look at are Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia and more so Tua with Miami. Everybody, after Tua's first 2 seasons, was labeling him as a bust. His third year, they get him an offensive-minded coach. 2 great receivers. Jalen Waddle was already there, but you add Tyreek Hill, now that changes the offense. Tua is playing at a top 10 quarterback level statistically because of that help around him.
Yep.
Chicago has way too much problems to just look at the quarterback position and say, we have to change that. They have to get receivers. They have to get an offensive line. Even if Justin Fields ends up not being a great quarterback, you have to build an infrastructure to the point where if you do move on, your next quarterback is going to have a favorable situation to succeed in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's too. I'm sorry, babe. Go ahead.
No, yeah, you said it perfectly. It's one thing if a quarterback is playing like shit and he has the receivers, he has the offensive line. But when he's playing this bad and he has nothing that's helping him around, then it looks a lot different. So I completely agree with you.
Well, to add to your point, when you talked about Ohio State when it's a one-read offense, well, the reason why it's a one-read offense because 9 times out of 10, my wide receiver is better than your best cornerback. So I don't really have to go through progressions. And my offensive line at Ohio State or my offensive line at Michigan is a lot better than your offensive line. So I got a couple of more seconds to actually make progressions. So that's the first thing. But when I look at what Justin Fields, like for example, what he did, he had an actually pretty good game last week against Minnesota. Yeah. So when he hits, Smith Massetti, even though that was the only catch of the game for him, he ended up fumbling. I mean, they were on their way to scoring.
They were.
It looked like they were on their way to scoring. So when I think about Justin Fields, you brought up a really good point about infrastructure. We get a guy, we get a quarterback, and is this our guy? Well, we don't know if Justin Fields is the guy yet, but he kind of looks like it. So if that's true, let's build around him and let's let the people know that this is our guy. Because now we have a foundation as opposed to, well, we're going to give this 1 year. We're going to give this 2 years. Let's not forget, guys, Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre for 5 years. I'm sorry, for 4 years. Steve Young sat behind Joe Montana for 5 seasons. There's nothing wrong with sitting behind somebody. And there's also nothing wrong with developing a quarterback. And if you develop them, the fans, the people that are inspired by you, they'll get behind you if that's what you're telling them, as opposed to, yo, this is the guy and we're in the playoffs next year. When you know that that's not true. You know how far away this guy is. Not only how far away he is, you know how far away you guys are. And the last thing that I'm going to say about this, I've had a man crush on Roquan Smith for like the last 2 years. I bleed 49 to red, but Roquan Smith, he got Derek Brooks written all over him. That's who he reminds me of. He just gets to the football, and we're going to have a discussion about when you're talking about MVPs, and we're going to have a discussion about him in a little bit.
Yeah, Roquan Smith is absolutely awesome. Chicago has to pay him, and if they don't, they better trade him to a great organization.
They're trying to keep him. That defense has been really, really fucking good.
Yeah, Justin Fields, to me, he's definitely shown me things to be concerned about, but there's also moments where I say, I think it's too soon. It's way too soon to give up on this guy and just say he's not the quarterback. That's what I'm saying,
Joe. You just got him. You don't even know how good he is. And like I said, what you're doing with him right now, you kind of screwing him up. This is his second offensive coordinator in as many seasons. If you're going to get another offensive coordinator in here, you're going to get another head coach in here. Now that's going to be 3 in, 3-4 years. And what kind of continuity is he going to have? And I can't say enough that, losing Allen Robinson was a big deal. That was a huge deal, losing him. I mean, don't get me wrong. They might be trying to do something with, Smith Massetti and St. Brown. But I mean, losing Allen Robinson was a big deal. That was a huge deal.
I mean, this is probably going to be the biggest offseason in like recent years for the Chicago Bears. They're going to have so much money, and they're going to have opportunities to upload that offense. So if they can do it, like we said, the Bears are 2-4, but these last 2 weeks, Fields has shown us that he has that heart. He can win these type of games if you put the right pieces around him. So they're going to have the type of cap this year. It's if the front office can do it. And I don't know if they can.
MVP talk, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, heavyweight bout this Sunday. I'm really sad that it's not a primetime game. Right? It should be a primetime game. Who is the MVP so far, Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes?
Wait a minute, Joe. I think they moved it to 8 o'clock.
They did?
I think they moved it to Sunday night.
They had to just do it. Isn't the Cowboys and Eagles?
That's right. That's correct. It's the Cowboys and the Eagles. I thought that they moved that game to Sunday night. I'm sorry. That is not true.
We play at 8:20.
Right.
Yeah, they play at 4:25. If they moved it to Sunday night, I would have been ecstatic.
That's a nasty time.
I thought it got moved. My fault. That is not true. It did not get moved. Well, when I think about those two, right, the NFL, there's no misunderstanding with the league MVP. Like in pro basketball, we have a whole bunch of different verbiage. In pro football, it's the best player on the best team. Let's not get it confused. It's the best player on the best team. So when I think about what Josh Allen's doing, we talking about a dude in Josh Allen. He's 4th in the league in attempts, leads the league in yards. He's 2nd in the league in touchdowns. I don't like, and he's in the bottom half of the league in interceptions. So he takes care of football. I do like that about him. Now, you mentioned earlier about, guys getting better. Josh Allen got better when he got Diggs. That's a big deal. The fact that he got Diggs, that helped him. Now, their run game it really hasn't been what I would like to see it, but Josh Allen has been so good at supplementing that he makes them just so much better. Now, when I think about Patrick Mahomes, I call him he's the king of improvisation. So we're talking about a dude whose numbers are very similar. His numbers are very similar. I think he's 4th. I mean, he's right outside the top 10 in attempts. He's 4th in yards. He leads the league in touchdowns, but he's 3rd in interceptions. I don't like that. And I don't like that, not because he doesn't take chances, because he does take chances. But I think a lot of times Patty might take unnecessary chances. And he has that safety net in Kelsey that he uses a lot more than people give him credit for. I thought that Juju Smith would be a lot better than what he is. I think he's really missing Cheetah because he's missing that 10-yard dig guy, that 6-yard slant guy, that deep ball guy to really open up the offense. He's really missing him. But when I think about how important he is to their offense as opposed to how important Josh Allen is, Joe, I'm talking about like this. I'm talking about like 9.79 in 100 and 9.77 in 100. I mean, it's right there. And I thought we were going to have a defensive player to win the league MVP this year. I honestly did, because I saw Micah Parsons and I was thinking, this dude got a legit shot to win the league MVP this year. But I think it could very well go to these two guys right here. And like I just told you, you already know how I feel about Roquan Smith. That dude gets to the football. Of all the players in the league, he gets to 10 yards down the field, Roquan Smith is there. In the backfield, Smith is there. If the Bears were better, we'd be having a very serious conversation about him. And the last thing I'm going to say about this, Joe, is after Sunday, if the Eagles win, we're going to have a serious conversation about Jalen Hurts being the league MVP. And I know you guys don't want to talk about that, but we're going to have a conversation about Jalen Hurts being the league MVP.
I think we have to.
Yeah, we had him in our MVP talks. We had like 5.
For me, I like Jalen Hurts, but I'm still waiting on teams to figure out what the Eagles like to do and what they're going to take away. Because when you're in an explosive offense, especially early in the season, they're going to take something away. The Dallas Cowboys are an elite defense, so I'm looking forward to see how Jalen Hurts maneuvers around that defense. If he has a big-time performance, then, hey, I can't say anything. But with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, we've seen years of NFL defenses try to adjust to them, and they simply can't. They're too good. The offenses that they're in are too good. Between these two quarterbacks, after the playoff game last year, I was absolutely 100% convinced that these two guys are the best quarterbacks in the league. I don't care how you rank them, 1A, 1B, it doesn't matter. These are the two best guys. This year, I'm slightly leaning Mahomes as the better player, but I do think Allen is having the better season because I think when you talk about the Bills offense, everything is on Josh Allen, whether it's through the air, whether it's through the ground, running the ball because they don't have a running back that can run it. The Chiefs at least have a better offensive line, and they have a committee of running backs that can get these chunk yards. We saw it last week with Jerick McKinnon on Monday Night Football. But Josh Allen, 14 touchdowns, 225 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Both these guys are great. Allen is first in EPA per play right now in the NFL. And the way I see both of these offenses playing, it's different. Mahomes, now that Tyreek Hill isn't there, and even last year, they were taking a lot of underneath stuff. Mahomes now has transitioned from a slinger, a deep ball slinger, to now a quick pass quarterback. Where Josh Allen, the Buffalo offense is still an intermediate to deep passing offense, and we see that every single week. We don't see those big-time explosive plays from Kansas City like that as much as we did in the past, but I think Josh Allen is playing at a better level, and I think they're going to beat the Chiefs this Sunday. I do.
Well, you got to remember, too, Rev, I mean, how many deep ball threats are in the game that are better than Cheetah? And if you take him out, and if you take him out the lineup, I mean, that's a huge part of my offense that's gone.
Yeah.
So if he was still there, I think we'd be having a different conversation about Patty Holmes. I do think.
And despite Cheetah not being there, Mahomes is still, by almost every single metric, the best quarterback in the NFL statistically, which just goes to show that he's adjusted his game to now fit what they're currently doing in the offense. And Juju, I thought he was going to have a better season as well, but I think it's quite clear to me that the Chiefs, it's kind of just
whoever's open's open.
It's just they're using everybody. Yeah. They're using everybody, and that's what it is. It's one night is going to be Marquez Valdes-Scantling. One night it's Juju. Maybe Watson gets in there. He goes for a big time play. Like they're using all of their receivers, deploying all their receivers versus Buffalo, where you kind of know it's just Gabe Davis, Stephon, and sometimes Isaiah McKenzie.
This is tough for me because big game Sunday night. I'm probably gonna take the Bills on that one. I just think they're the better team right now. Defensively, they've been amazing. Offensively, like you said about Josh Allen, he does everything for them. He's their best running back. He's their quarterback. He's that big 6'4", I'm going to run you over, and then I can beat you with the deep ball. I think Mahomes has played a little better, but I think what keeps Allen, so we all can, Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, right? But I think what keeps Allen in that conversation is because it's different between him and Lamar, because not only can Allen run the ball, he's a different type of runner than Lamar. Lamar's obviously the most dynamic runner in the league, but Allen's a runner where he'll run you over, but then he can throw it like Mahomes. And that's what keeps him in that conversation of why I can be better than Mahomes. And this year we watched against the Ravens, second half, playing like shit the whole first half, comes back, gets the W. We seen against the Steelers. He just put on an absolute show, So I think right now, but I still have, because
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, man, but that was my uncle's a Steeler fan, and I had to call him. I was like, they were waiting outside for you guys. So they was waiting outside for you guys. Come on in here and get this ass.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. Like him and Gabe Davis was just having fun. I just think right now, like you said, with Cheetah gone, Allen still has Diggs. He has Gabe Davis who can get 3 catches, 150 yards at any moment. With the Chiefs losing Tyreek Hill, the offense was going to have to adjust. We know that it was going to have to make some adjustments. It was going to have to add some guys to try to fill in. They need 2-3 guys to fill in the type of production Hill provides. So I think with that, even though he still has Kelsey, you still need that receiver to take it over the top. And I think him missing that and still being the best, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, I think I have to put him over a little bit right now. Because outside of that stinker against the Colts, which we all agree that was kind of just a weird-ass game that they shouldn't have lost, he's been pretty much amazing throughout the whole season. So I think I would lean Mahomes right now as the MVP. But I think this Sunday that's definitely going to change. I think Josh Allen's going to win that game.
Yeah,
I just remember watching these guys, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Joe, but I remember watching these guys in the playoffs last season, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the future of football right here. These two guys right here, this is as much as I dig Lamar Jackson, and I'm a Justin Herbert stan, and I'm a 49er fan, but I'm watching these two guys, and I'm like, this is the future of football right here. For the next 10 years, these two guys are going to be the standard at quarterback. No question about it. Of all the guys that I've seen, and I'm a big Justin Herbert fan, I'm a big time Lamar Jackson fan, but these two guys, the way they handle the offense, the way they sling it around the yard, the way that Josh Allen just basically marches his guys up and down the field, the way that Patrick Mahomes just takes control of the offense. I'm like, these guys are going to be the standard for quarterback for the next decade. So I think we're going to I think that we're going to have this conversation again more than once, not just this year, but in years to come.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Patrick Mahomes, his first year as a starter, I was bought in. When the first year he started, I told everybody that I don't care about any stats. This is the best quarterback I've ever seen. Ever seen. Josh Allen, I was a little bit late too. I'm a Jets fan, so the Bills rivalry is there.
You were a hater.
But Josh Allen, I watch him play, and I just fall in love with his game. He's must-see TV, and I'm a big Josh Allen guy. I feel like this game is going to be the first time where we see the impact of Tyreek Hill's loss, because in the playoff game, the Bills played a lot of soft zone on the Chiefs because you have to respect Tyreek Hill's speed. Now it kind of changes because you can play more aggressively against the Chiefs. You can have your corners man up and jam these receivers at the line because you're not respecting any of those outside threats. And then if you bracket Travis Kelce, that can limit the Chiefs' offense.
Is White playing? Because he's been practicing this week.
I don't think he's going to play, but he has been practicing.
He'll probably play next week.
So I think this is the game where we see Tyreek Hill's loss is going to be magnified, because what are the Chiefs going to do when a team like Buffalo, who has an elite level defense, starts jamming up these receivers and playing aggressively, and these guys can't beat press coverage? And now you're counting on Mahomes to improvise even more than he usually does, which we know he can do. But I think that'll be the difference. I do think the Bills' defense is just much better than the Chiefs. And Josh Allen, he already has figured out Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they have the personnel outside of L'Jarius Sneed at the secondary position that can really keep up with Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis one-on-one.
Right. So when I think about Kansas City, well, without that deep threat, who are your chain movers? Who are the guys when 3rd and 5? Who are your guys at 3rd and 6? Who are your chain movers that Kansas City has? Well, the reason why you got a chain mover in Cheetah is because he's a deep ball threat. And when Patrick Mahomes improvises, he's almost always open. Always. But now you don't have that. So who's the guy that we're going to? Not only is who's the guy we're going to, when Pat Mahomes comes to the line of scrimmage, I think about Tom Brady, right? I think about Joe Montana. Most of those guys, when they come to the line of scrimmage, when Tom Brady comes to the line of scrimmage, he's looking for 87. Okay, there's 87. Whatever they're running, it doesn't make a difference, right? So when Joe Montana comes to the line, where's number 80? Okay, there's 80 right there. That's his guy. So when Pat Mahomes comes to the line of scrimmage, who's the guy that he's looking for? That when I got to improvise and the pocket breaks down, not only when the pocket breaks down, when I got to stand in the pocket and I got to make a big throw, who is the guy that I'm going to hit on 3rd and 6? Who's the guy that I'm going to hit on 3rd and 8? That's the thing that as much as I dig Kelce and as much as I dig Juju, Cheetah was such a chain mover, and they don't have that. And they don't have that now. And I think that's going to be a problem for them.
And in the playoff game with 13 seconds left, that guy from Mahomes was Tyreek Hill. And to counter that, the Bills signed Von Miller. So now the Bills have an edge presence like Von Miller who can go after Mahomes. And I think that is the difference right there. Just the edge presence. They're the most disciplined secondary in the NFL, coached by Sean McDermott. I feel like they're just the most complete team in football outside of the running back position. Everywhere else, they're B to A+ at. It's really just a running back, and even for them, they're such a pass-heavy team that it doesn't really matter much.
They gotta account for Gabe Davis too, which is gonna be really, because Snead is gonna be on Diggs. Gabe Davis, he could have one of those days, man.
I hope so.
I think and you're gonna kill me for this, Rev. I think they handle Kansas City. I don't think it's a dogfight. I think they straight handle them dudes.
I'm with you. I'm on the Bills stand. I've been talking about Allen MVP for like 6 weeks. I'm with you.
I think they straight handle them dudes.
I think this is the Bills' year. I really do. I think the defense is there. The offense is there. Allen has just got better. I think this is definitely going to be their year that they take the Super Bowl.
How about they got Von Miller for a bucket of extra crispy in the 6-pack? I can't believe that. They just handed him over like, hey, we got one of the best pass rushers in the game that's available. You want this guy? Yeah,
Did
we'll take him, sure.
Did you watch Von Miller's I think it's a podcast. It's something on YouTube. He talked about how they recruited him, and and how he said Josh Allen called him, and he was calling, and they was like, "Yo, man, Von Miller's not answering." He felt like they made more of an effort than the Rams and like other teams because Josh Allen personally called him. Same thing with Stephon Diggs. Like Josh Allen be actually calling these dudes. Like he's out there recruiting. So he talks about his leadership.
He knows.
Yep.
He knows if we can get this dude, he might push us over the top.
Yeah.
He knows that.
And in that podcast, Stephon Diggs said that Josh Allen changed his career.
Absolutely. He made him look like a top 4 receiver in the world.
Yeah. I mean, he would have still been playing with Kirk Cousins if it wasn't for Josh Allen. Oregon traded to the Jets and played with Zach Wilson. I would have loved that.
That would have been tough.
Ever since last year, because last year I watched this ESPN documentary called The Four Falls of Buffalo and how they lost 4 straight times in the Super Bowl. Ever since I watched that documentary, a soft spot in my heart for Buffalo now exists. Last year I picked them to win it all. This year I'm going all in.
Who was the quarterback when they lost 0-4?
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly, yeah.
Oh,
I was blanking on his name.
They went to 4 straight?
Not only did they go to 4 straight, Riv, okay, a lot of people don't recognize that they were the class of the AFC for like 7-8 years. Like if you're trying to get to the bowl game, you got to come to West New York. Wow. They were the class of the AFC. And they had a bomb squad, Andre Rison, Jim Kelly.
Damn.
That defense was incredible. But the problem is they just kept running into different situations. Like they weren't better than that Giants team. They weren't. Man. They weren't better than that Cowboys team. They just weren't.
They had one of the more – they innovated how offense was played, that team. And I know for a fact against New York, because Bill Belichick was defensive coordinator for that Giants team, he found a way to stop this no-huddle, hurry-up offense, and that's what limited them in the Super Bowl.
Damn.
But
I'll give you real quick, Joe. It was very simple. Usually when you have a great game plan, 9 times out of 10 it works, right? The problem is that somebody's going to see your game plan and they're going to use it against you. So rewind the clock back to 1991 when they're playing the Giants in the bowl game. Bill Belichick is looking at Jim Kelly going, if we let this dude sit in the pocket and throw all day, he's going to destroy us. We got no shot against him. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put one guy on the edge, right? Not only am I going to put one guy on the edge, I think my front 4 is better than your front 4. I dare you to run the football. Well, fast forward the clock to 2015, Wade Phillips, he sees that game plan against Bill Belichick in the AFC Championship. You know what? I think my front 4 better than your front 4. I'm going to put 7 guys in the box. I'm going to go single coverage on the edge, and I dare you to run the football. And what happened? They end up losing because the Giants did the same thing to Buffalo, which blew my mind that they wouldn't run the football with arguably the best running back in the league in Thurman Thomas. I'm thinking, why y'all not shoving the ball down these dudes' throat? And they didn't. It was incredible to me.
Yeah, it was actually eye-opening how they didn't win because they had multiple Pro Bowlers, multiple Hall of Famers on that team, like multiple Hall of Famers.
Nuts.
Yeah, and 4 in a row is crazy. Matt Rule got fired from Carolina. Oh, you were about to say something, OG?
No, you good.
Okay. Matt Rule got fired from Carolina, and we all know they're not going to be a good football team this year. They may surprisingly beat the Rams. I feel like after a team fires a coach, that galvanizes players, and the Rams have been struggling, so there's a chance for an upset there, although I don't think it's going to happen.
Don't get sucked into this. This team is garbage. Do not get sucked into it. I'm telling you right now, but keep going. Do not get sucked into this. I'm telling you, man.
That begs the question. They have a lot of big-time players on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of these guys do you want to go see? Do you want to see in a new situation, and what situation is that? We have DJ Moore, CMC, Brian Burns. Robbie Anderson might even be a trade candidate, and he's not an upper echelon receiver, but he can definitely help out some teams, I believe. Mm-hmm. Starting off with DJ Moore, what team do you want to see him on?
Joe,
no.
Joe,
no.
Go ahead.
I gotta go because DJ Moore's my guy. Like he's really my guy. Like I've been a fan of DJ Moore since he walked into the league. I've always been upset because he hasn't had a good quarterback since he got into the league, and he's been putting up solid numbers, been consistent as they come, hasn't complained. I became a fan because of that Steve Smith video when he was talking about him on fantasy. That's how I became a fan of DJ Moore. But I thought of 3 teams. You know, I don't know like how the capital might work or how the trade might go. I just thought of 3 teams that I thought that could utilize him right now. Green Bay was number 1, Baltimore was another, and the Rams. I thought those were 3 teams that could utilize him right now. Green Bay they don't have a number one, a number two, damn near a number three at the moment. And somebody like DJ Moore could really use Aaron Rodgers, and they both could uplift each other. Baltimore, they've been looking for a number one for a long time. And I think Lamar, with his improvements as a passer, bringing in the number one will finally put them over the top, that offense. And then, of course, the Rams, because that Allen Robinson signing sucks. It does suck. And they're too –
it does, too.
Yeah, they're too Cooper Kupp reliant. Like, they're just he gets spammed all day. And it's to a point where his 13 receptions for 125 yards hasn't been as impactful as it was last season, because this year is just like, we know he's going to do it, but the offense still looks sloppy. They need a number two guy or somebody to help Cooper Kupp on the other end. So those are the three teams for me that I think DJ Moore should just go to.
One team for me and DJ Moore, and Joe's going to kill me for this, but I love him in New York with the Giants. I love him in New York with the Giants, and the reason why is because now Daniel Jones, who a lot of people give Daniel Jones a lot of flack, but I heard the New York Giant brass tell me, quote, "We've done everything we can to screw this kid up," and they did, no doubt about it, they did. So to get a guy like DJ Moore, so we got a deep threat. We got a third down receiver, because their receiving core has been decimated. Shep's going for the season. So their receiving core has been decimated. And they're basically back to the New York Giants or football from the 90s, because they're giving Saquon Barkley the ball 25, 30 times a game. And we're going to win with you. Well, the problem with that is you're going to run them into the ground. And I don't know if that's a long-term plan for winning. I love DJ Moore with the Giants. C-Mac, well, what we can't do is we can't act like C-Mac ain't made of glass. We can't act like that. As much as talented as he is, and as awesome as a player as he is, health has always been an issue for him. However, to flip-flop what Riv just said, I love C-Mac in Baltimore. Oh, he gives Lamar Jackson another realm into their offense that they don't have. He gives now, in addition to Lamar Jackson getting involved with Mark Andrews more, now he's got a running back who's also a great receiver who I can dump it off to, he can run routes for us, and he can open up our offense even more. I love him there. Now, your last guy, tell me his name again. I'm sorry, Burns. That's what I'm sorry. Burns. I can't really think of anybody when I think about Burns. I mean, he's good in New Orleans, and that quarterback situation is terrible. I mean, that quarterback situation has been bad. But I also like him with the Giants too. I do.
You want everybody with the Giants, man.
It's not, and I'm not a Giants fan. I think sure? That I'm not a Giants fan. No, I'm not. But I look at that Giants situation, and I think that it sucks, the situation that they put Daniel Jones in, and what we talked about earlier when we're talking about young quarterbacks, and basically just putting them in bad situations and wrecking them. And that's basically what they did with Daniel Jones. They made him look like he couldn't play, when in reality, like, if you give this dude enough, there are flashes where there's a reason why they call him Danny Dimes, because he can make throws. The problem is that his offensive line has been decimated, and not only has his offensive line been decimated, his offense has also been hurt. I mean, Saquon Barkley's been out for 2 years, so I'd like to see him get a better opportunity.
I think you guys all mentioned great options. For DJ Moore, I'm going to differ a bit, and I have a couple options for him that are different. The Kansas City Chiefs. After losing Tyreek Hill is a $30 million price tag. DJ Moore's cap hit next year is $20 million and 16 and 16. For a wide receiver one, that's a pretty low cap hit. That's half of Tyreek Hill's number, and that gives Patrick Mahomes an option on the outside that's reliable, that is a chain mover. The Packers was a great pick, because I think as long as the Packers don't have a number one receiver, they are not going to go far this season. And we even saw last year with the best receiver in football, they still couldn't get over the hump, so they desperately need one. I have the Chargers on here. I do. I think Keenan Allen is always hurt.
He's cooked up.
Well, Keenan Allen's not always hurt, but he got hurt this year. He has a lingering hamstring. We don't know how that's gonna, how he's gonna feel off that going forward. Mike Will is a great 50-50 jump ball receiver. But when I look at the Chargers, I feel like there's nobody that challenges defenses vertically. And DJ Moore, being 25 years old, he can be an excellent route runner for them. He can be a deep threat for them. And now you have a receiving core of Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Mike Williams. That would round up one of the better ones in the league. And Justin Herbert, you got to just go all in and give him help. The Chargers went all in on defense this past offseason with the signings of J.C. Jackson, Sebastian Joseph Day, trading for Khalil Mack. But it's time to go all in on offense. Get him another receiver. Get him more offensive linemen. It's time to go all in for Justin Herbert, and that's why the Chargers are up here for me. Christian McCaffrey, the one team I see, the Ravens was a great one. I didn't even think about that. With the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills. That's the one for me. I think Christian McCaffrey in Buffalo finally gives them an elite running back. He's an elite pass catcher. He would just be a perfect fit. And Brian Burns, I look at Tennessee as an option for him. With Harold Landry being out due to injury for the season, he can fill out their defensive front, which already features Bud Dupree, Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, Rashad Weaver. If you add in Brian Burns and now you get back Harold Landry next season, this makes up one of the best defensive fronts in football. And if they trade the right players for Brian Burns, they can actually save $10 million on the cap.
Really?
So it would be a great move for them all around if they can get a guy like Brian Burns. And I wouldn't even rule them out of the DJ Moore sweepstakes because from all the reports that I've read, A.J. Brown just didn't want to be in Tennessee. He talked to Jalen Hurts. He was working out with him before the draft. And it was reported he already had a deal in place with Philadelphia to go there. And he just didn't want to be in Tennessee. He wanted to be in Philadelphia. And Tennessee was willing to pay him. They were, but he wanted to be in Philadelphia. Okay. So I think they don't mind trading for a big-time receiver, and DJ Moore could help out the receiving core. The Titans right now, they're struggling with weapons.
Well, here's the thing, though, Joe. There's a reason why A.J. Brown wanted out. It's not just because he wanted to go to Philadelphia. I mean, if you look at what was going on in Tennessee and you look at Ryan Tannehill is who he is. So if you bring in a guy like DJ Moore, is he going to make things better for Ryan Tannehill? As good as DJ Moore is as a quarterback, as a receiver, is he going to make Ryan Tannehill, I think, is who he is. So I'm not going to say I hate it because I don't hate it. No, I'm a huge Derrick Henry fan, and we're going to get to the league MVP. We already talked about that. When I think about Derrick Henry, and I think about the fact that they basically have him as a workhorse back as well, and they could use another receiver. The problem is Ryan Tannehill being able to make the throws that are necessary. It's the difference between making throws and making the throw that's necessary. And I think that's the difference. And that's the separator with him and a lot of the better quarterbacks. So to get a guy like DJ Moore, would he be able to push Ryan Tannehill over that hump? I'm not sure because I'm not sold on Ryan Tannehill.
No, if AJ Brown couldn't do it, DJ Moore won't be able to.
That's what I'm saying.
AJ Brown's a better receiver than DJ Moore.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
yes,
there's no doubt. Boom or bust. This is a new segment we have on the show. So we are partnered with this fantasy app called Boom Fantasy, and this is boom or bust. We have some over-unders, we have some matchups, and I picked out some of the best games from this weekend, from week 6, that we can go over. So boom or bust. First over-under, Buffalo at KC. Gabriel Davis last time had 200 plus yards and 4 touchdowns. In this game, is he going to go over 56.5 receiving yards?
I'm going to say, yeah, he's going to go over. All he needs is 1. Yeah, give me the over, yeah.
Just so you know, Rev, his name is at the top of the board on their scouting report. Of all the guys, that they're looking at
I know.
On defense, he's the one at the top of the board. So
defenses make mistakes, man. They make
56
mistakes.
yards. I think he could do better than 56 yards. I'm going to go over.
I'm a big Gabe Davis truther. I'm going with the over. I think he might get 100. Yeah. Matchup, who's going to have more touchdowns, Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes?
I think Josh Allen's going to win the game. So I'm going to say Josh Allen. Yeah, I think he'll get more touchdowns.
I'm going to go Josh Allen too, because the reason why I think that Buffalo defense, I think that they're going to create a lot of turnovers and get those guys in the red zone more. And because they get them in the red zone more, I think they're going to have more opportunity to score. So I'm going to go Josh Allen. I'm
going with Josh Allen as well. Now, Dallas at Philadelphia, the Sunday night football game. Cooper Rush. Some people are trying to create a quarterback controversy out of this. Over under 221.5 passing yards.
I'm going to go under. I just Slay. He's been so great this year. He's gonna have Lamb and Hal. I like our secondary. I'm gonna go under.
I'm going to go under too because I look at that defense, and that defense has been winning most of their games. In this 4-0 stretch, I think the defense has given up like less than
20 points.
Touchdown. I think less than two touchdowns a game. That's it. So yeah, I'm gonna go under, no doubt about it. And make sure we clear, Riv, because a lot of people are getting sucked into this quarterback controversy. You have a quarterback in Dallas. This guy is the fill-in until your quarterback gets healthy. Period.
I know.
That's it. Let's not get sucked into the we already paid this guy. We already paid this guy.
I would say this. I would just say Cooper Rush has played so well to where they can take their time with Dak. But Dak is the guy. Yeah, Dak is the guy when he comes back.
Yes.
But Cooper's been amazing. So shout out to him.
I'm going under, and I'm going to put my hater cap on.
We knew it was coming.
This is the game that people see Cooper Rush for who he is. A limited quarterback who's nothing more than a backup. That's what he is. That's what he is. Jalen Hurts over under 48.5 rushing yards.
Ooh.
I'm going to go under.
I think I'll take the under. I call him RB1. It's funny, but I think I'll go under this game. I'll go under though.
I feel like part of Dallas's game plan is to keep him in the pocket. I do.
Yeah.
But something tells me that he can just break one big time run.
They got Parsons out there, though.
And he can just have those yards. I'm gonna go over for Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna go over for him. Yeah. And now we have two last matchups. Okay. So Arizona versus Seattle. Who has more receiving yards in this game? Hollywood Brown or DK Metcalf?
I'm gonna go DK. I've been feeling the Geno DK vibe. I'm gonna go DK.
Hey, understand something, Rev. I know a lot of people are off the Geno Smith bandwagon. I mean, he lead the league in QBR. I think he lead the league in completion percentage.
Yeah, he's been.
I'm watching Geno and I'm thinking to myself, "Yo, Geno don't suck. Geno is really good if you put him in that situation." So I'm digging the Geno Metcalf situation.
Yeah, DK is the one.
I'm a big Geno Smith guy right now too, and that's another prime example of young quarterbacks. You give up on them too fast when they don't have a position to really succeed. And now in Seattle, been with the same offense, has infrastructure, and he's been playing amazing.
I'm not a big Hollywood guy. I think we bet when we said Gabe was going to have more yards than Hollywood.
I have DK Metcalf more yards, and this is within Seattle. Who will have more receptions, DK or Tyler Lockett?
Tyler Lockett.
Lockett. Yeah,
he's more of the reception guy. So
I'm gonna go with DK just because the way I saw the Geno DK connection versus the Saints,
that shit is fire.
I think DK has more receptions slightly.
Oh, I thought you said interceptions. I'm sorry, that went right over my head. I'm sorry. Receptions. Oh, yes. Metcalf's definitely getting more catches, no doubt about that.
I'm gonna still take Lockett. Lockett. I want to be different.
Because when I think about DK and I think about that secondary in Arizona, Geno is looking for him. He's the guy when he comes to the line of scrimmage. He's looking for 14, and I think he's going to him a lot more on Sunday than he would in any other Sunday, no doubt.
100%. That's exactly what I've been seeing when I've been seeing Geno play.
To win?
I picked Seattle to win. Yep, they're at home. I think the 12th man versus Arizona. It's gonna throw them off a little bit.
That's a division game.
I'm bought in on Geno. I think Geno's.
I don't know what's going on up in Seattle because Arizona will go up there and they 2-8 and they will go up there and smoke Seattle. And I don't know what it is that's an NFC West rivalry. Like we'll go up there and we 12-2 and go to Seattle and get blown out, my 49ers. But Arizona will come in there, they 3-7, and they'll go in there and they'll smoke Seattle. I don't know what's going on up there, Rib. I can't tell you. I wish I could tell you what was going on up there, but I don't know.
The division games, they all over the place.
Oh no, man.
That's making me rethink my pick a little bit. I don't know.
I might have to. Man. I don't. I can't put my finger on it.
I got Arizona, just FYI.
Yeah. Boom Fantasy also offers NBA now, and it's very easy to bet on NBA games because if basically tonight, they have some like picks for tonight. Jason Tatum over 22 points. It's a preseason game. I wouldn't bet on preseason, but you could. But Boom Fantasy, shout out to them for sponsoring us. They make us go and supporting them and supporting us.
People betting on preseason is so fiend. It's like, what are you betting on the preseason?
There's no
you
reason
on that
to
diesel
bet.
for real.
Yeah,
if you
like,
betting on preseason, you for real on that diesel.
Yeah,
yes,
like, damn.
Absolutely, y'all.
Yeah, there's no reason to bet on preseason. Now, I have this Would You Rather NBA Awards edition. I have a subsection for each award, and I have players that I feel like will be in the running for these awards, and you tell me who's more likely to win that award. So this is Would You Rather NBA Awards edition, Sixth Man of the Year, first award up. Tyler Hero or Jordan Poole?
I'm going to go Jordan Poole because I think Klay Thompson's going to have a better year. He's going to be healthy, and I think Hero's going to end up getting that starting spot anyways. So I'm going to go Poole.
I think that Hero is much better coming off the bench. Not only do I think he's much better coming off the bench, he's more comfortable in that role. And that role is you are buckets. You are our buckets guy coming off the bench, and all you have to do is be solid on defense. And I think that he's actually got himself more comfortable in that role, and I think he could have a better season this year. I'm going to go with Tyler Hero.
I can't disagree with you, OG. Jordan Poole, I know he's the hot pick right now, but Tyler Hero already had one of the best six-man years we've ever seen, and I think he's settled in that role. I'm going with Tyler Hero as well, and I think he's starting to get slightly underrated. I do. I think Tyler Hero, he's a very good player, and people tend to look at him as less than a Jordan Poole.
Rib, I got a question for Rib. Rib, I'm missing something when it comes to Jordan Poole. I don't know what it is, but I all I hear is people talking to me. Jordan Poole is this, Jordan Poole is that. So he's going into year 4, right? At his apex, let's say we're in year 7.
Okay.
Who is Jordan Poole?
That's a tough question, and it's a tough question because let me ask you this: how long are Steph, Klay, and Dray still in the league on the Warriors?
I think that. I don't think Dray. I don't think Steph is going anywhere. Right. I think that Klay. I think he's on the Warriors at least this season and next season. And then I think that I think at the next season, I think that they move in a different direction with Klay Thompson.
So you're telling me by year 6 and then 7, Poole will have a starting spot for the Golden State Warriors, probably 5.
But let's say by year 5.
Okay, year 5.
Let's say by year 5.
I think his apex is probably a low-end all-star. I think he has that type of apex. Low-end all-star.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I got people talking to me like, do you think he's the question that I'm asking, because I got somebody talking to me about he's at his best season is 27, 28 a game. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that's Bradley Beal good. Do you think he's Bradley Beal good?
I don't think he's Bradley Beal good. I don't even think the system would allow him to get 27 points a game.
Right.
So I can't see that. I think he's a 20 to 23 points per game scorer at his apex. I think that's what he can do. He's an efficient scorer. He has a lot of bucket. He has a nice little toolbox so far. So I think I just don't
want to overrate him. That's all. I just want to make sure that I'm not losing it.
No, Bradley Beal is a little crazy. I don't think he's, and I'm not a fan of Bradley Beal, but I don't think Poole is Bradley Beal. I don't think that.
Okay. All right.
Next 2 names: Christian Wood or Malcolm Brogdon. I'm going to go with Christian Wood. I think he has a better year off the bench than Brogdon this year.
You know what? I'm going to piggyback off that. And I don't even think Brogdon isn't going to play enough. I think he'll get hurt. So Christian Wood, I'm going to take Christian Wood. He'll definitely need to be a better player off the bench for them.
Well, I think Christian Wood starts for them. I don't think he's coming off the bench. I think he starts in front of Powell. I don't think Powell is a starting center. Definitely not on a playoff team, but I don't think he's a starting center.
No, Wood's coming off the bench.
Yeah, Jason Kidd said that JaVale McGee is starting for them.
Because I thought
Dinwiddie and Wood are coming off the bench.
I would have loved for Christian Wood to start. I would have loved for it.
So if that's true, then I'm going to go with Christian Wood because I think his motor and his ability just to stay healthy, as smart as Malcolm Brogdon is, and I think he's going to be great in that Boston system, playing behind Marcus Smart, and he's going to give them different energy. The thing that concerns me with him is health. He always is banged.
Yeah.
He's always banged up. And not only is he banged up, Riv, he's banged up to the point where it's affecting his game. Like, he's not one of those guys that plays through injury. He rolls his ankle and he's out for 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's out for a long time.
So I'm going to go with Christian Wood.
Rookie of the Year edition, Paolo Banchero or Jabari Smith Jr.?
Banchero, easy. I don't think I need to discuss this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jabari Smith, when Houston saw him drop to 3, they were doing backflips in the war room. Absolutely, man. You kidding me? I couldn't believe he dropped to 3. I was like, what? Absolutely. I think this guy, he might be a franchise player, Riv. He may very well be a franchise player. I'm watching this kid. I love him. I love everything about him. He's gonna get bigger. Now, don't get me wrong. I like the kid from Duke. I do like his game. But when I look at Smith, he just looks tougher. Mm-hmm. He looks like he's got more potential. He looks like he's got more in his bag potentially. Oh, I'm digging him.
So you taking Jabari?
I'm definitely digging him, no doubt about it.
You can't sleep on Tari Eason either. Tari Eason's nice.
Tari Eason is very nice.
I'm going to go with Paolo. I love the Jabari pick. Keegan Murray or Jaden Ivey. Now, this was a pick when the Kings passed up on Ivey. Everybody was clowning the Kings for it, but Keegan Murray's looked good. So Keegan or Ivey?
Mm-hmm.
I find it funny that people are on Twitter putting up per 36s for preseason. It's really hilarious. but give me Jaden Ivey. That's my pick to win Rookie of the Year anyways. So give me Jaden Ivey.
I watched him last night against Memphis. Like I said, I don't really watch too much preseason, but I did watch a little bit of him, and he looks like he's going to be an integral part of what they're doing with that But Murray, man, Murray just looks like he's more pro ready.
Probably.
So I'd have to go with Murray.
I think Keegan Murray does have a better rookie season.
Yeah.
And is Benedict Mathurin over all these guys? In the preseason, he averaged 20 points per game. Indiana has a winning record in the preseason, mostly due to his play.
So does OKC, 5-1.
Yeah, I seen that as well. I like Mathurin. He is my dark horse pick to win Rookie of the Year.
Mathurin is a great pick. And I think he has, in terms of all the rookies we're talking about, he has the best point guard in terms of playmaking. You know, Jabari Smith doesn't have a playmaking point guard. Banchero doesn't really have a playmaking point guard. Jaden Ivey does, but Cade is in year 2, right? So it's like Halliburton is the most established playmaker out the bunch. So he's going to get Mathurin a lot of touches. And I think they'll move off of Hield and Turner eventually, so which is going to open up the game more for Mathurin. And he's a shooter. So I don't even think that's a dark horse. He should be in the conversation. There's a lot of guys that could be in the conversation. So I don't see that as a bad pick.
Well, when I also think about Porter Jr., I mean, I think that you're underrating him as a playmaker. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he can score the basketball, but I think that you are. I do. I think that I don't think you're giving him enough credit as a playmaker. And I mean, think that
in terms of him and Halliburton's just on a different.
I don't get me wrong. I think Halliburton is better.
Yeah, as a playmaker, Hallie's just on a different level.
Yeah, I do think Halliburton is better than Porter Jr., but I do think that coming into this season now, Porter Jr. got Green on one end, and he's got Jabari Smith on the other end. That has to enhance his playmaking ability.
It does. It should, like, logically, it should make him better on it.
So you're going with Mathurin over anybody else that we named?
I would go Mathurin over Murray.
Oh, that's the only one you're going over.
I'm digging Murray, man. I do. And I dig Mathurin. He's the one who said that, James got to show it to him. That's who he is. Yeah. I know. That's who you coming into the league. That's just the way that works. But I'm digging this kid Murray, man. I do. I like him.
I don't know. I just don't think Murray's going to get a lot of touches. I think Fox, Sabonis, even Barnes for a little bit. Not for the whole season, but for a little bit, he's going to get in. So I don't know. And I think the Kings are like gunning for a play-in spot. So it's to rely on a rookie to do that. It's kind of tough.
They're going to shock the world, man.
Shock the world?
Sacramento Kings. They're going to shock the world.
Joe is the same one that told us, Reb, about James Harden, because we already know what James Harden is going to look like coming into the season, right?
He's back on that. He hasn't stopped.
Right. He's going to look great. What he's going to be in great shape. And no, you're not sucking me in, Joe.
I've seen the pictures Philly's taking of him. The muscles are showing.
Here we go.
Anthony Edwards paid homage. He said, I saw James Harden, and I said, I had to get in the gym myself. I had to.
Here we go.
Most improved player, Tyrese Halliburton or Anthony Edwards?
I'm gonna take Halliburton. We'll have a lot more opportunity. He'll run the team. So give me Halliburton.
I'm taking none of those guys. I'm going with Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton is gonna run wild in Utah. They're gonna be awful.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because I've been meaning to ask. Somebody else told me this too, but I didn't want to ask them because they're not as smart as you. So I'm gonna ask you because they're not. They're just they say a lot of things that just doesn't make sense to me. It's one of my friends. Colin Sexton, most improved. We've seen him before average 24 points a game. Granted, it was a bad situation. We know it was just counting numbers. What does he have to shoot me? What does he have to do this year to win most improved? Because he's already averaged 24 points a game.
Yes, he was averaging 24. And that Cleveland team was on its way to being a good team.
Yes, facts.
So with that being said, he's not playing with nearly as good players in Utah as he was playing in Cleveland. So with that being said, they're going to turn him loose even more. So that 24, that could very well turn into something way different to 26. That could very well turn, and we could be talking about him as a potential all-star. Even though as bad of a team as he's on, because they're going to turn him loose. Utah has obviously made it clear to us, Danny Ainge has made it clear to us that we are starting over. And in the process of us starting over, we're giving this guy the ball right here. So when I think about Colin Sexton in Utah, I think that he's going to be the guy that they're going to turn loose, and he's going to be able to do whatever he wants. And I think he's going to have one of the better years, if not the best year, of those guys.
What do you think his ceiling is? Realistically, like on a good playoff winning team, not no bottom dweller.
I think he could be a 20. I think he could be a 20-7 guy.
Okay.
Now, when I say ceiling, when I say ceiling, I mean 20 plus.
Right.
I don't think he's a 28, 29 game guy. No, I don't think he's that good. But I do think with his ability to defend and his ability to play make, he doesn't pass it as much as I'd like for him to. That's why I look at him more of a combo guard than more of a traditional point guard. That's why they moved off of him and stuck with Darius Garland, because he's going to pass the ball more. So when I think about Colin Sexton, he's more of like a combo guard. So I could see him in that a lower level Damian Lillard type of spot where he's like 22, between 22 and 24, 25, and like 6 or 7.
If I'm Danny Ainge and we start winning with Colin Sexton, I might have to trade him too. I might have to ship him out of Utah because nobody's ruining my chance of trying to get Victor.
No.
Between these three names.
Go ahead and start winning in Utah. Goodbye, Sexton. We didn't get rid of all of the people that we got rid of and got all these first round picks for us to be good. You screwing that up. What are you doing? You're supposed to suck.
So CC Jordan Clarkson have a 40 ball. All right. He's making that call. Yep.
We making phone calls. Who's interested? Because we're not interested in keeping him. Nah. Nope.
Defensive Player of the Year edition, Rudy Gobert or Bam Adebayo?
Man, give me Bam, man. I keep picking him every year. I got to get one right. Give me Bam, man.
I'm going Gobert still. I'm going with him still.
The reason why I'm going with Gobert, Riv, I think you're looking at Bam as a better overall defensive player.
1,000%.
And I'm looking at Rudy, his impact on that unit. Like that Miami Heat team, they got a damn good defensive team. Yeah. And when I think about Rudy, when Rudy on that Minnesota team, how he affects them defensively, there's a reason why they got him. They got him because they basically got out-toughed by Memphis. That's the reason why they got him. So to get him on a unit, now we got another rim protector. Now we got another rebounder. Now we got a guy who can man the paint. We got that guy now, and he's going to make their team defensively. He's going to make them better. I think that Miami already has a really good defensive team, and I think Bam just kind of adds to that.
I look at it like this. Like Gobert's going to have the numbers. I think we all know that. He's going to have the defensive numbers. But like a situation like Minnesota, as opposed to Utah, they got Jaden McDaniels. They got Ant Edwards. You know, Cat's going to buy in. D'Lo bought in last year. He was a good defender. As opposed to in Miami, you know, they have the culture. They have the coach. But Bam, with P.J. Tucker gone, Bam is probably going to have to cover a lot more ground. And with Kyle Lowry, we don't know what he's going to look like coming into this year. I just think Bam is going to have to cover a lot more than as opposed to kind of like what Rudy Gobert did for Utah. He's going to have to cover a lot more ground as opposed to in Minnesota. Gobert has a lot of help now, so it's going to look like he's still going to be that guy. But Bam, you know, you got to cover for Tyler Herro. You got to cover for Max Strus. Gabe Vincent, he's small. You got to cover for him. Lowry, he's old. Jimmy Butler, he can't. You need him for the playoffs. So in the regular season, he can't be that elite every night defender for you. Who's going to play the 4? You know, Bam has to now switch 1 through 5 and rim protect. So I just think Bam's going to have more responsibility and is going to show a lot more now as opposed to where Gobert's in Minnesota. He has a little bit more help. a lot more help as opposed to Utah.
Which I'm glad you mentioned that, because if we flip that around, so now Cat, who his best season, and a lot of people don't recognize this, but when he was at Kentucky, he played the 4.
Facts.
That was his.
It was Cauley-Stein at the 5. Yeah.
Yes, it was Cauley-Stein, and Cat was probably the best player in the country playing the 4. Well, now he can get back to that. Not only can he get back to that, that can make him even a more efficient defender. That can make him even more of an efficient rebounder, because now I got a guy behind me. I don't have to deal with Embiid. I don't have to deal with Joker. I don't have to deal with any of those big guys. I don't have to deal with Giannis. Embiid is going to deal with those. I'm sorry. Gobert is going to have to deal with those dudes. And when you got a guy behind you like that, so Anthony Edwards, who has already made it clear to us that he is not great as a defender. I'd like to see him become better as a defender, but Rudy Gobert makes life so much less difficult for guys when you got a rim protector behind you like that. So those guys, I think that they're going to be more in tune to play defense, as opposed to him cleaning up messes like he was doing in Utah.
Yeah, he was saving them.
Miami might start Omer Yurtseven though.
Oh shit!
At the 5,
it was garbage. Riv in Utah when he was off the floor, I think they were 27th in the league.
No,
in defense.
They might have been 30th. They might have been 30th.
It's garbage when he's off the floor. They don't play him. He was basically the anchor of their defense. They were terrible.
No, you ain't gotta tell me.
I love Rudy to Minnesota because people are gonna start putting more respect on him, because they don't have the flaws Utah had defensively. So he'll be much better. He'll be much better in that situation. Now, these next 2 names, let's just act like one of these guys stays healthy. Giannis or Anthony Davis?
In terms of what?
DPOI.
I would give me AD. Give me AD. Kind of like the same reasons for Bam. AD's going to have to do so much for them. And if he can get back to that bubble vibe, where he was that guy on the perimeter and that rim protecting guy, I think he's a better defender than Giannis when he's healthy. So, yeah, give me AD for this one.
Riz, are we going to act like AD didn't have 3 rebounds 2 nights ago? 3!
I don't watch the preseason, so I don't know what you're saying.
Are you going to get on the backboard? Is that what you – I know you don't want to play the 5. I already know that. You've already made that clear to us.
OG, I don't know what you're saying. You're talking about the preseason.
Right.
I have no idea.
Okay, I know you – but the fact that I know that you don't want to play the 5, you've already made that clear to us.
Okay.
But there's no way you can play over 30 minutes and have 3 rebounds. 3? That's it? And now, don't get me wrong, Joe. We were having a serious conversation about Giannis and AD a couple of years ago about who was better.
3 years ago.
And Giannis has clearly surpassed him. So for AD to get back to that elite defensive level, I don't think it's ridiculous, but I think that Giannis is at that point, man, where as a defender, I think it's going to be hard to surpass him.
I'm going with Giannis as well. And now this is the final edition, MVP edition. Luka or Zion this year?
Give me Luka.
Yeah.
As much as I love Luka, I do think the Pelicans have a better team than Dallas. And they can finish higher in the seedings.
Do you think that helps his case or hinders?
I think it helps Zion if they're a higher seed and he's averaging 27 like he did in his second year.
Meanwhile, if Dallas ends up in the 6th seed and Luka is 28, 9, and 9.
There's no if. He will be 28, 9. He will be 28, 9, and 9.
28, 9, and 9. It's going to be difficult to keep him out of the conversation for league MVP. I'm not sure. I think this season Zion comes in, and I put him in the same category with Clay in terms of him just being able to hold up. I'm going to prove this year that I can hold up. Being an elite player, that's something different. I need to prove to everybody that I am good enough just to hold up and play 60, 70 games. We'll get to the elite stuff later because I think he still has time there. But if I had to pick between the 2, I'm going with Luka.
Yeah, I can't bet against Luka.
Joel Embiid or KD?
This is another dude who can't hold up. Well, both of them.
2 of them.
So it's like, who's going to stay the healthiest? This is realistically the question.
I have Embiid.
Well, those are for different reasons, though, Riv. They're for 2 different reasons, though.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to say Embiid. No, I lied. I'm going to say Kevin Durant because I think Embiid, I think when you look at Embiid's situation, basically based off what you've been telling me, Harden's going to get back to that level. So if Harden's going to get back to that level, Embiid is going to have to do as much as we've been asking him to do. And plus, I'm predicting a Maxey another breakout year. So Embiid isn't going to have to do as much as opposed to Brooklyn. Kevin Durant's still going to have to be that guy for them regardless of the situation. So give me KD.
Anybody that knows me knows that I'm out on Brooklyn. No matter what you try to sell me, I am OUT out on the Brooklyn Nets. There's nothing that you can really sell me on them right now. When I think about KD, I think that he's on the other side of the best of KD, but it's still there. No doubt about that. I think that Embiid is at the beginning of his prime, and I think he finished twice in the last 2 years. Yep. He finished second in league MVP votes. And we're gonna see a different Embiid this year. And the reason why we're going to see a different Embiid this year is because him and James Harden actually get to play the entire season. See, last year he came in the middle of the season. We really didn't know what was going on. Are we going to run the offense through you? Are we going to run the offense through me? I think that that's already been established. I think James Harden is the playmaker and Embiid is the guy on offense. So when I think about those two, I definitely think Embiid better. He's got the better opportunity to do it than KD. And plus, I'm not sure that KD is going to hold up.
Yeah, that's a great point. Last two names, Nikola Jokic or Giannis?
Ooh. Shit.
I think Denver finishes with the 1 or 2nd seed in the West, and Nikola Jokic has another dominant season.
I think I had him top 2.
That's why I have Jokic over Giannis for MVP.
Yeah. I'll go the same route as you. I think Jamal and MPJ just opens up the floor even more than with that bum team they had. So, yeah, I'll go the same route as you. I'm going to say the Joker.
I'm a Giannis stan, so I'm one of those guys that I think Giannis is the best in the game, and I think that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to win the NBA championship. I think they're the best team in the NBA, so I'm having a difficult time seeing Giannis not win the league MVP this year. However, Rib, I will tell you this: we're going to have a real serious conversation in 5 months about a three straight league MVP in Joker. People don't want to have that conversation because they see Joker, but when I think about like exactly what you just got finished talking about, MPJ coming back, being able to stretch the defense the way he does, Murray being that secondary ball handler and making that offense go even better and be more efficient. When I look at how they are, and that's going to make Joker even better. That's going to allow Joker to rebound more. That's going to allow Joker to be a better defender and all of those other things that Joker does. So when I think about Denver, I got Denver as the 3rd seed. I don't have them as a top 2 seed, but I do have them I got them as a top 3 seed. But we're going to have a serious conversation in a couple of months about Joker being the league MVP for the 3rd
So you think
year.
First off is Bird? You think Joker's going to
Bird? We are going to have a serious, and I'm telling you, Rev, people do not want to have that conversation. And the reason why they don't want to have it is, number one, Joker is a Euro. And they don't really yeah, and the way he looks. And number two, they're not sold on Denver. They're not sold on Denver at all. But when I think about Joker and I think about what he does, we're going to have a serious conversation about this.
It's hilarious how for Denver, they just ignore the fact that he hasn't had his 2 best players for the past 2 seasons. It's really weird.
They was in the Western Conference Championship the last time he had both his.
And he wasn't even what he was today. So it's like.
No, Joker from 20 is not Joker in 23. That's 2 different dudes.
Crazy.
And adding on to that, the additions of KCP and Bruce Brown and what they bring as cutters.
Huge.
Adds to Denver tremendously, where Joker can average 8 to 10 assists a game.
And now Aaron Gordon can stop focusing on being a secondary scorer and just go back to playing defense.
Yeah, that's going to help them tremendously. I think it's going to help them tremendously.
Joe, if we have a Joker where he's 25, 12, and 11, we're not having this conversation. And Denver is 3rd or 2nd in the West. What are we talking about?
And he's more efficient too now.
Right.
Exactly.
League scary.
Which is it unrealistic, by the way. It's not like I'm saying that like that's something that's astronomical. He can do that considering what you just said when you brought up the players that he's going to have now. That's not ridiculous to say that Joker could go 25, 11, and 10.
Nikola Jokic is one of those players that he's an all-time great already, and I feel like he still doesn't get his just due. Because I remember earlier in the season where we post clips on TikTok and we talk about Jokic and where we rank the best players. There's people that still have Kevin Durant over Nikola Jokic. And I'm like, how? How can KD be over Jokic?
Some people don't have Joker in their top 5.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. Like Joker to me at the least is 3, 4.
That's where I got him at. I got him at 2. Yeah, I got him at 2.
I got him at 1.
Giannis, Steph, Luka.
I got him at 1. I got him at 2. I got Giannis.
Wait, what's your 3?
Giannis, Joker, Luka.
Oh.
So Curry's not in your top 3.
4. That's what Curry is, number 4. I'm sorry, 5, because Embiid's 4, Curry's 5.
Oh,
I can't have it.
Shit.
I can't have a dude. I can't have a dude that won the Finals MVP and led the league in scoring the year before outside the top 5. I can't do that. That's nuts to me. No.
OG, you hurt me with that list, but I'm gonna let it slide because
Embiid, how can you fight a dude who he finished second in the league in MVP votes the last 2 years?
Listen, man. I'm gonna let you slide with the list.
My God.
But I got Joker 1, I got Giannis 2, I got Steph at 3, I got Luka at 4. I don't have Embiid in my 5 though. Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry, I don't have Embiid in my 5.
Why? What's your issue with Embiid being a top 5 player in the league?
I just think there's a couple guys better than him.
So with that being said, take Embiid's name off. Take Embiid. We talking about a guy, all right? We ain't gonna say Joel Embiid. This guy that we're talking about, right? He finished twice second in league MVP votes.
You didn't even hear the names in front of him. How can you?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm listening.
I got LeBron and KD in front of him. Those are valid names. You can't even get mad at those because you have them right behind him.
I do. I had James playing at the level that he played last season. I think that was it for James. I think that James is still a top 10 player, but him being the best player or a top 5 player at this point, because that's why they got Anthony Davis. They got Anthony Davis for James to play off of him.
And
the days of James throwing teams on his back and taking them to the NBA Finals, those days are over. I'm too old for that. So with that being said, he's too, and we know that. So that's why I got James right outside the top 5. I got him at 6. However, to think about Joel Embiid and to think about what he's done over the last 3-4 years, and being the top 3 defensive player of the year, being second in league MVP votes in the last 2 years. If we take his name off there and we just say this guy did this, what are you gonna say? That's a top 5 player.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at the playoffs and him being the only guy that hasn't gotten far, and him having his shorts. I know regular season is extremely important, but I look at the other top 4 guys. Luka beat the Suns. A lot of people picked the Suns. He went out there, did his thing. Steph, he had a historical finals. The Joker, he won the MVP, and then Giannis, I don't really got to speak too much about that. Then LeBron, I don't go like the way I rank players is I don't go, going into this season. I just rank off what you've done for me the past season and then like maybe a season before that. So and regular season, Embiid is a regular season merchant. I know what he's going to do in the regular season. He's going to be a dog in the regular season. But I in the playoffs, I think it's still tough for me to put him over LeBron. Even put him over KD, I still might have those 2 guys in front of him. That could obviously change this season, but I still think those 2 guys are in front of him. If we talk about playoffs and regular season, because those 2 guys, they're going to put up those numbers in the regular season. It may not be Embiid, but it's going to be close. And then in the playoffs, I just trust those 2 guys
KD
more.
just got swept, though.
No, KD did just get swept.
And LeBron playoffs had a bad playoffs versus the Suns.
Oh, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, and he didn't make the playoffs this past year.
Yeah, but LeBron averaged 30. 38.
Embiid averaged 30.
Embiid's 27, 20 years old. LeBron's like 10 times his age, bro. Difference.
You don't like Embiid.
That's a difference, bro. LeBron different.
So, OG, you said that Denver's in your top 3 in the West. I'm curious to where you have Minnesota.
Number 5.
Number 5? Okay.
Yes,
you going to say the same thing you said to us to him?
I think that's crazy. I got the number 1.
You got the Minnesota's the number 1 seed?
Yeah, I do.
He called us crazy because I had him 3rd. Drew had him 4th. Dehls had him 4th. He called us crazy. So you have him 5. You must be a lunatic at this point.
That's what I'm trying to figure out because, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Minnesota's going to be good, but the number 1 overall seed?
Yes, he said it.
So that's definitely a hot take right there. What about Minnesota gives you the vibe that they're going to be the best team going into the playoffs?
So this is my reasoning.
I'm listening.
My top 5 seeds are Minnesota at 1, Denver at 2. Number 3 is the Clippers. Number 4 is Golden State. And number 5 is the Pelicans. I'm very high on the Pelicans this year. I think the Clippers and the Warriors at their absolute best, I do think they're a better team than Minnesota. But I know that Kawhi likes to load manage. PG as well. They also get hurt often. And the Warriors this past season, they should have been the 1st seed. The reason they dropped is because they had injuries to Steph, to Draymond. You now have this situation where he punches Poole out there. So I do think Minnesota, based on their trajectory, last year they finished as a 7th seed. but that could have very well been a 5th seed if they finished the season off strong. They went into a little bit of a slump. And I just view what they have offensively with Cat. Anthony Edwards, I think, is going to take a big-time leap to a 25, 26 point per game scorer. Jaden McDaniels is one of the better defenders in the league. And Rudy Gobert, not too long ago in 2020, was one of the more impactful players outside of Donovan Mitchell on a Utah Jazz team that was the first seed in the Western Conference. And I think when you look at Minnesota, they were the first-ranked offense last season. You bring in Gobert, that now solidifies you as a top 5 defense.
Yeah.
I love their depth. I love their starting lineup. I feel like you can argue that they have 4 all-stars in their lineup. Cat, Gobert, Ant-Man, and Dehls, although I don't think he's going to make an all-star again.
Never.
I think there are nights where he plays at an all-star caliber level. He has nights where he gets hot and he can play at that level. And just to pair him with another rim runner like he had in Brooklyn with Jared Allen, I think now gives him an extra gear to his playmaking. That Gobert is going to help out tremendously. Gobert, screen assists. I think he just helps out that team tremendously. And that's why I feel like this year the impact Rudy brings to a team is going to be very evident. And it's going to be eye-opening for a lot of people.
So if that's true, that means that we're going to have a conversation about Rudy Gobert being the league MVP.
I was thinking more Cat.
Because we're talking about impact. So when I think about like the Lakers, for example, when as good as James was in 20, I mean, you're talking about Anthony Davis, who led the team in points, rebounds, and blocks, and how much more impactful he was and how much more important he was to what they were doing. So if we're going to have that sort of conversation and how much more impactful Rudy's going to be, we have to have that conversation about him being, according to you, with Minnesota being at the top of the Western Conference, him being in the league MVP conversation. We're going to have that conversation.
Impact-wise, I don't disagree. But I just knowing what the history of the league MVP is, it's about scoring. Rudy Gobert back in Utah when they were the first seed, Donovan Mitchell was averaging 25 a game. He didn't get any MVP votes. He wasn't even in the top 10 in voting. Gobert didn't even sniff it.
Either.
Exactly, and I thought that was crazy for him to be the best player on the first seed. He should have definitely got a nod. I think Cat is the one that could sneak into that conversation. I think Cat can average 26 and 13 and maybe give you 4 assists a game, and he'll buy in defense a little bit more. The efficiency is always going to be there with Cat. I think Cat has a legitimate case if Minnesota finishes that well to be in the league MVP conversation.
But with getting Rudy on the crew, Rudy brings them, don't get me wrong, Rudy brings them the interior defender, the toughness that they didn't have. However, those guys are still marginal without him. And they're going to have him, no doubt about that. But when I think about the Warriors, I mean, the Warriors have gotten better. You know, Kuminga's going to be better. Poole's going to be better. Even though the nonsense that's going on, I think Poole's going to be better. I think Kuminga's going to be better. I'm really looking forward to seeing what James Wiseman does. I think that Monty Williams, because I got Phoenix as a top 3 seed. I think Monty Williams got out coached in that series against Dallas, and I think he's going to be better this season. I think that they're going to be a better team defensively. Denver, we've already talked about them. I think that they're the 3rd seed, and when I look at Minnesota and when I look at what they bring to Denver, I think Denver is overall a better team than them in the regular season. And the Clippers. Now, don't get me wrong, going forward, when we talk about potential winning the championship, when I say I'm out on Brooklyn, it's the same reason why if I'm out on Brooklyn, I got to be out on the Clippers for the same reason, because I've also seen underperformances and I've seen injuries with the Clippers as well. So I can't bet on them long term, but if we're talking about seeds, I think the Clippers are a top 4 seed in the West, considering how much they've upgraded that roster. Now, when I think about Minnesota and the rest of those teams, I think Minnesota is a top 5 team in the West. Now, you talked about hot takes. You know, you just said that Minnesota is the number 1 seed out west. Wow, that's a hot take right there.
That'd be a gold mine if you get that shit right.
I think it will. I think it'd be a gold mine.
Crazy.
Last year, I was bought in on Minnesota being the 5th seed. They finished as the 7th. I was disappointed they couldn't get that 5th seed. So I'm hoping
they was right outside. I think they missed out on the 5th seed by like 2 games.
They were like 2-3 games.
They were right there. They went on a slump to end the year. And it was very unfortunate, but that could have came true. I will say this about Minnesota, though. part of it is me analyzing it. Part of me is also biased towards what I feel Anthony Edwards is going to be. I really do think he's going to take a huge step forward this year. He wasn't a very good defender last year, but I think he becomes – he's talked about it openly. He wants to be an all-NBA defender. So he's talked about that. I think if he can take that leap to not being all-NBA, but just being a very good to great defender on nights and still giving what he gives you offensively with that supporting cast, Minnesota can take a huge leap that people aren't expecting.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. And another thing about Anthony Edwards, if we're having a conversation about Anthony Edwards being an all-league defender, in addition to him being a 20-plus a game scorer, we got to have a conversation about him being a top 15 player, maybe even a top 10 player. Yeah,
I don't think that's too far-fetched. Like, for example, last year, Moran, nobody had him as an all-NBA player and taking this type of leap.
No, I didn't.
He goes and averages 27. Memphis is now the second seed in the West. Anthony Edwards is like Ja going into year 3 now. And I think that both of them are very similar in talent level already, where Ant-Man can take that leap, and maybe it's not Cat, maybe it's Ant-Man who is piggybacking Minnesota, but he does have to be more consistent offensively and with his shot selection. But I think it's possible. I'm really sold on Anthony Edwards as a talent.
I think that we're going to have in another year, tops. I think we're going to have a conversation like we have how we talk about Booker, how we talk about DeMar DeRozan as the best 2 guards in the game. We're going to have that conversation about Anthony Edwards. I think that he's getting close to that in terms of just being an athlete. I think he's gotten by on a lot of things, but I think that the game is going to start to slow down for him a little bit more. And I think that he's going to take a step up where he becomes more of a leader and a better player. And I think that in another year or so, we're going to have a conversation about him being the best 2 guard in the game.
Yeah, I agree. And OG, with you having Phoenix as your second seed, you don't worry about DeAndre Ayton not looking bought in with Phoenix and Chris Paul aging, the Robert Sarver situation, Jay Crowder not being there anymore. Do you not worry about that?
Well, the Jay Crowder situation, I think Jay Crowder I think he wanted a bigger role in what was going on. So to move off of him, that doesn't bother me. The DeAndre Ayton situation, they basically told him, we will pay you, or just go out there and find out what your worth is. And that's just good business. That's not like they did him dirty where they said to him, we're not interested in paying you. No, go out there and find out what your worth is. And he went out there and found out what his worth is. And Phoenix basically matched it. We don't like you at 198. We don't like that number. We definitely like you at 133. Now, that's not their fault. That's all him. Now, when I think about that team as a whole, when I think about Chris Paul, I feel the same way about him as I do about James in the aspect that his game, I think that I can get another year of elite point guard play out of him this season. I think after this season, it becomes trickier. But I think that I could get another season out of him, another elite point guard season out of him. And I think Monty Williams, I think that he recognizes his flaws from last season and how basically Jason Kidd outcoached him. Where he was basically just double teaming Devin Booker in the short corner. And we all know Devin Booker is one of the worst double team players in the game. I think he's in the top 3 in the league in turnovers when he gets double teamed. So with that being said, I think that Monty Williams has recognized that he's got to do a better job as a coach, and I think that he will. So that doesn't bother me as much as for some people. I like the fact that they're vets. They're a top 10 defensive team. Mikal Bridges, you can argue, is the best defensive player in the game. I like what I'm seeing in Phoenix. I think that they just ran into a bad matchup. And you guys know this as well as I do. How many times have we seen teams run into teams and you recognize right from the beginning of the series, this is a bad matchup for these guys? And I think that's what happened with Phoenix. I think that was just that Dallas. That was just a bad. Luka was steamrolling everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much you can do with Luka. Luka's different.
Oh my god.
I mean, we talk about Luka being basically contained against Golden State. Meanwhile, he scored 50% of the time that Andrew Wiggins was covering him. 50% of the time that he got the ball and scored against Andrew Wiggins, but they contained him. Oh, no, they didn't. They tried to slow him down. What they did was they jumped those other guys. And because Luka is responsible for so much of Dallas's offense, that it just became too much. That's all it was at the end of the day. But I think that Phoenix overcomes a lot. I don't have Phoenix winning the NBA championship. Let's make sure we clear on that.
I know you don't. I know you
don't.
don't.
I want to make sure we clear on that. No, I'm not going that far.
Just seeding purposes, yeah.
I do. Yes, I think that they're a top 2, top 3 seed in the West. I do.
On this subject, the Warriors, they just punished Draymond Green. No suspension, but they gave him a fine.
I said punished.
Now, a lot of people on social media were kind of up in arms about this. Oh, Draymond punched a teammate. He should have gotten a bigger fine or suspension or whatever it may be. Do you think that the Warriors handled this situation well with Draymond? OG, I know on your TikTok you talked about it, how it bugs you that the footage got leaked in the first place. So what do you feel about this punishment that the Warriors gave to Draymond?
I think that I commend the Warriors for not buckling under the pressure of the public to do something rash. Don't get me wrong. The footage makes this thing look way worse. And it suggests to me that Draymond has something going on, because when I look at what was going on in practice, and when I watch Jordan Poole, you guys know Jordan Poole talks a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that him and Draymond have gotten into it like that way more times in practice. And I think that whatever was said, I'm sure that there were other things that were said in the past, and it never came to that. So there's a reason why things stay in-house. And I'm not buying the logic that, well, they leaked this video so they can lower Draymond's value. Well, Draymond's only on the books for 2 more years. So we got 2 choices. We can either let his contract run out or we can move him. Well, Draymond doesn't really have much value on the trade market, so we could just let his contract run out. This doesn't benefit the Warriors to leak this, right? If this thing could have just stayed in-house, and they're going to be away from Draymond in the next 2 years in terms of his contract. Now they're going to make a decision on what they want to do with him in the next 2 years. However, I don't hate it. I just hate the fact that it got out. That's the thing that bothers me the most.
In terms of the contract thing, you said it. The Warriors have come out and they talked. They're very, 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 very quickly trying to get that Jordan Poole extension done. So that's their number one priority. Draymond Green, he's admitted it. They're not going to get a contract done no time soon. And you mentioned it. He has 2 years left on his book. I think the last year is a player option, if I'm not mistaken.
Which he's not leaving none of that money on the table.
He knows he's not. Draymond's a smart guy. He knows he knows at that point there probably won't be a bigger market. So he's not going to leave that money on the table. So realistically, he'll be on the Warriors for the next 2 seasons. So, like you said, the footage got leaked. I don't think Golden State Warriors, I'm in the same boat with you. I don't think they leaked it. It just didn't make sense. But I do think at the same time, getting punched like that, I mean, like we've seen Draymond get suspended for like a game with the Kevin Durant situation. Right. So we've seen Bobby Portis knock out his teammate, and he got suspended 8 games for defending himself, he says. So
we didn't even see it, by the way.
We didn't see the footage. We just know Mirotic was in the hospital. His nose was all broken up. Apparently, Bobby Portis hits really hard. This situation is a little different because the footage got leaked and Golden State made it very clear from the jump they're not suspending Draymond. So they are very much about winning games. This seems like a thing that, like you said, happens a lot in practice, or maybe not a lot, but this happens enough where, no, we're not suspending him. We'll just probably fine him. But we want to win games. This doesn't it's just more about the impact. I think people are getting over-exaggerated, and people are just thinking, oh, Golden State gets off with the leeway. They always get off the hook. They get favoritized. Well, I mean, it's their organization. You can handle it the way you want to handle it. So I think pretty much Draymond, internally, I'd be fucked up because that's like me hitting Joel or hitting Drew. I would never do that in my life. If you my brother, I wouldn't see myself hitting you. So I think this more affects him in home as opposed to the outside media. Like, the fine is whatever. That's not much to him. Him getting suspended, that wasn't really going to hurt him. It's his relationship with Jordan Poole. I think that's what hurts the most. I think as much as they can say that this is fixed, as much as they can say that, oh, they're in great terms, you always going to look at somebody differently if they punch you in your face or if they knock you out like that. It's no matter the situation. So I think that's more broken than anything else. And I think people are just looking at other things as opposed to that situation.
I think
real quick, Joe, before you go any further, Joe, real quick. Now, you just mentioned this too, Riv. This thing, like you, Joe, and you with your crew, if it's not on tape and you guys get into it and it stays right there where you guys are sitting, we can handle it. You've got into it with family members. You've said something to a family member and it's gotten ugly. But if we could keep it right here, we can handle it. Can you imagine if we saw Jordan get punched in the face or Jordan punch Steve Kerr in the face? Can you imagine if we saw Olajuwon smack Vernon Maxwell? I mean, can you imagine if we saw Shaq punch Greg Ostertag in the face? Like, think about that sort of stuff. That was going on, right? Yeah. Add that to the fact, Rib, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Joe, but add that to the fact that the Warriors came right out and told us immediately when this happened. This wasn't something that was kept under the rug. This wasn't something that was kept to the side. When this happened on Wednesday, they told us about it. Not only did they tell us about it, they told us we are going to handle it. NBA, Adam Silver, relax. Don't worry about this. We got this under control, which was why I was so upset by this thing getting out, because it wasn't necessary.
I think that the Warriors wouldn't have given out that punishment if they had not talked to Draymond or Jordan Poole first. I do believe that if Jordan Poole was very bothered by what happened, and it messed him up to the point mentally where he needed to take a step back, right, we wouldn't be seeing him play in the preseason like he's been playing. He's playing like everything's fine,
practicing,
and the punishment would have been at least a suspension if Jordan Poole wasn't okay with it. But I feel like the Warriors, at least to this point, they are the model organization. They have done mostly everything right. And I don't believe that people should be hypercritical about the decisions they make, because they have shown that they're a top tier organization in basketball. And they wouldn't make a decision like this of giving Draymond just a fine, like people are trying to put it, if they didn't talk to every party involved in the situation and know what happened. I do think that Jordan Poole, although the dynamic may never be the same between Draymond and Jordan Poole, I mean, they might have never been friends or close like that to begin with. They're just teammates. It might not be the same, but that doesn't mean that Jordan Poole has not forgiven Draymond and they have not moved past that. They probably have moved past that situation. And I think the Warriors have done their due diligence on this matter to the point where they feel this is a reasonable punishment for Draymond and what he did. I see a lot of people on Twitter trying to compare this to like an assault on the street or like things like that, but it's not anything close to that. I do think that the Warriors deserve leeway in how they handle situations based on how they handled stuff in the past.
I'm gonna say this: if you punch me and it went live, people seen it, I'm never coming back to the show. That's just how I look at it. Like, if you hit me, I'm never coming back. So
it's way different. It's way different when what I equated to, Riv, is you and me got into it in practice, and you and me got into it in practice, and you ended up swinging on me, and it was in practice, and it was right here, as opposed to you ended up swinging on me in the cafeteria in front of everybody. That gets handled differently. Yeah. That's not the same thing. Yeah, that is not the same thing. And I think that the misconception is the idea of them just sweeping it under the rug. No, I'm not saying that. My point has been what the Warriors said right from the beginning. We are going to handle this. So let us handle it. This is not your problem. This is not your matter. Let us handle this. And Joe, please do not forget that we would not be having this conversation if the Warriors were not in the NBA Finals every year when Dray, Clay, and Steph are healthy. We would not be having this conversation.
Yeah.
If this happened in Orlando, nobody would care.
We could care less. Yeah. If Cole Anthony ended up punching Wagner in the face, we ain't talking about that. We not.
Yeah. Damn, shout out 6 Man.
Every single time the Magic come up, gotta shout out 6 Man. The Nets and the Clippers are two teams that I group into the same category because Nets and Clippers were both assembled in the same year in 2020. Yep. The Clippers choked in the bubble. KD and Kyrie did not play that year. 2021, Kawhi gets hurt. Clippers make the WCF. KD carries the Nets as far as he could take them. The Nets were not healthy. They lose to the Bucks in the second round. And now these past playoffs, the Clippers don't make it, and the Nets get swept in the first round. But in the year 2023, this upcoming season, which team has more pressure to now deliver a championship?
This is I know where OG sits on this table. For me though, I think the pressure is pretty equal. I think it's a different type of pressure. So you look at the Nets, right?
Mhm.
Kevin Durant, Kyrie leaving two superstars and Steph and LeBron, right? Steph and
Right.
LeBron win a ring after they both leave. LeBron wins in the bubble. Steph just wins last year. Kevin Durant and Kyrie have yet to prove to the mass media that they can win without those two guys. They need one of those type of guys. So in terms of this pressure is, can KD, Kyrie be that duo that takes you over the top? Can KD be that guy? Can Kyrie diffuse all the nonsense, the outside activity, and come and play and come and hoop? Can he do that? As opposed to the Clippers. The Clippers are a different organization because Kawhi Leonard, he wanted to go to the Clippers. Even though he won a ring in Toronto, that was never his destination to get traded. He always wanted to play with the Clippers. He went out. He personally wanted Paul George. He personally asked for Paul George. He told the Clippers, I'm not going here unless you get Paul George. They get Paul George. Like you said earlier before, this team, both duos have been hampered with injuries. They've been underperforming to an extent, especially with Kawhi and PG. They blew a 3-1 lead in the bubble, which we all thought it was going to be the Battle of LA. They were going to say the Lakers. They blew a 3-1 lead. Then the next year they go to the WCF, but still Kawhi is hurt, get hampered with injuries. And then last year, Kawhi doesn't play. Paul George misses 40 games. So this team has yet to really give us the full potential. Now I would say this. The Clippers have stacked better. They've definitely done better in building the proper team around Paul George and Kawhi. The only weakness we can really say is center, and that's just depending on if you watch Zubac or not. I like Zubac as a player. I think they need a backup center, but I wish they would have kept Hartenstein, but they couldn't. As opposed to the Nets, I think
the Knicks now.
Yeah, good fucking pickup. As opposed to the Nets, where I think a little bit of his, Ben Simmons, what is he going to look like? The defense, how is that going to look? Nash, what is he going to look as a head coach? Kevin Durant, can he still hold up? Kyrie Irving, what is he going to give you? Is the outside energy going to feed into his basketball ability? And then in the playoffs, what are they going to do? But I think the pressure is undoubtedly the same type of pressure. These are two teams that's been at the top of the conferences in terms of winning a championship. They've always started the season, they're one of the favorites. And then as the year comes around, they haven't really done much. So the pressure is the same, but it's definitely a different type of pressure for me.
I think it's easily the Clippers for one reason only. The excuses the Nets have. I think the excuses they have are legit excuses. For example, Ben Simmons and what he's going to be coming back. We know the coaching is subpar with Steve Nash. We know that they have some lack of depth. Joe Harris and Seth Curry already hurt. And they don't have a starting center. At least Zubac is a starting center. Yeah. Nick Claxton is a backup center. And you have the chemistry issues as well. Kyrie Irving being on an expiring deal after the season. What excuses do the Clippers have outside of injuries if something were to go wrong? They have the most stacked roster in the NBA. They have a top coach in the NBA in Tyronn Lue. And the biggest problem that the past couple of years we've been talking about with the Clippers, they don't have a point guard. They got John Wall. John Wall, who took the entire season off last year and now is playing with the Clippers. Look at their wings. Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum. They have Norman Powell. I mean, this team is legitimately stacked. If you go roster for roster on every team in the NBA, you land on the Clippers as the best roster in the NBA when they're fully healthy. Yep. On top of that, even if KD and Kyrie fail in Brooklyn, KD's a two-time champion. Kyrie's a champion. Although Kawhi has solidified what he is, Paul George is still chasing his championship. He does not have his yet. There is more pressure on the Clippers because I also think there's more pressure on Steve Ballmer to deliver a championship and kind of separate the Clippers from the Lakers. With the Nets, there's not much separation between them and the Knicks because the Knicks haven't done anything. The Lakers are a storied franchise, and he's trying to make the Clippers to their level. So I think there's more pressure on the Clippers.
Shout out to Steve Ballmer, though, because he's done his job. He's done his, him, West, all them boys. The front O, we can't, like the FO, they've done their job to put this team together. So it's really just up to the players.
Well, when I'm going in a bit of a different direction, and I'm not going to get long-winded with it, but so Michael Jordan got Scottie Pippen in year 4. And every year they had gotten better. Yep. So after 4 years together, they end up winning the NBA championship because those guys were getting better every year. Shaquille O'Neal gets Kobe Bryant in year 4. Every year, those guys are getting better.
They won in year 3, right? Year 3 was it?
After 4 years, Jordan got Scottie Pippen in 87.
Shaq got Kobe in 96, right?
Yep, and they won in 2000.
Okay.
So in year 4, so those guys were getting better every year. And not only were they getting better every year, there's a reason that's the exact reason why they were able to build that unit around those guys, and they were able to sustain that because that there was still more there. KD is going into year 16 this year. Kyrie Irving is going into year 12. Fellas, I've seen everything that I need to see. I'm not getting any more from these two. It's not like KD's going to turn into this all-league defender or Kyrie Irving is going to turn into this assist machine. I've seen everything that I'm going to see from these guys. So in 20, KD doesn't play the entire season because of an Achilles injury. Kyrie Irving only plays 20 games because he got hurt. 21, Kyrie Irving gets hurt. In the playoffs, KD misses half the season because of a hamstring injury. And then last year, we had the COVID incident. And not only did we have the COVID incident, Kevin Durant misses a month because of an MCL injury, which wasn't his fault, but he did miss that. There is no evidence to suggest to me that this thing is going to get better, especially considering I've seen everything that I'm going to see from these guys individually. So if I feel that way about them, I got to feel the same way about the Clippers, even though the Clippers have updated that roster, even though the Clippers have done a great job in enhancing that roster. There's still that one common denominator. Just like Irv and KD, it's Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, I had them actually going to the finals before he tore his knee up against Utah. I thought that they were an NBA finals team. But what happens? He gets injured. Then I see these guys underperform in the bubble, right? I see all of these things that give me no proof or no evidence to suggest that this thing is going to get even better. I don't even know if John Wall play, Joe? Don't get me wrong. I've seen him a little bit in the preseason, but we haven't seen him in 2 years in actual action. Can he even play? That's a question mark for him. Same thing with Terrence Mann. We roast Rudy Gobert because Terrence Mann put 39 on him. Did you know that Terrence Mann, since he did that, he's had one 25-point game since then? One. That's it. He hasn't done anything else after that. So, but I'm looking at this roster with the Clippers, and they look really good. But until I can see something to suggest that I should get on board with this, I can't.
You make an excellent point, and that's why I don't know why, but the Nets definitely are more of the butt of the joke than the Clippers, although the Clippers have failed equally as much as the Nets. And I do think the Nets, if they are healthy with Kyrie and Harden, they win that championship that year in 2021. I do.
Real quick, Joe, don't leave out the fact, and most people don't, just so you guys know at home, James Harden was on that crew. He was in the playoffs against Milwaukee. He was on the crew when that was going on. Just so you guys know, he was on the crew.
I think they're more the butt of the jokes is because Kevin Durant and Kyrie are 9 times out of 10 the butt of the jokes in the media. You know, Kyrie Irving left LeBron. Kevin Durant went to the team that blew a 3-1 lead, then left them. And then when Steph won last year, it made it even 10 times worse because it's like, damn, you really left him. So, but in terms of just this year, though, I do agree with you, though. I think the Clippers do have more pressure because they have the roster that's been propped up again to be the best team in the league, you know. So this year, yeah, Clippers definitely have more pressure. In terms of what OG said, you know, I don't know, OG. I just feel like injuries is a part of the game. You know, it happens a lot. But I think, like you said, when Kawhi tore his knee up, I had the Clippers going to the finals that year. I thought they could definitely go to the finals. I don't know if they was going to win. You know what I'm saying? But I had them going to the finals. I had them beat. Even when Kawhi went down, I still felt like Paul George, which if he didn't choke, was good enough to beat Phoenix with that crew. So I think this year, though, like you said, this is those other duos. They had 4 years, year 4. This is year 4. We may not see more from Kawhi and Paul George, right? We may not see more from Kevin Durant, Kyrie. This may be the players that they are for the foreseeable future. But in terms of the roster, you know, the rosters have gotten slightly better. The Clippers have gotten mightily better. They got a new coach who Ty Lue to his credit, has been amazing there. And then for Brooklyn, they may not have got a coach. Their roster isn't a modest upgrade, but Ben Simmons is there. Let's see what he looks like. Joe Harris, let's see what he looks like. Seth Curry. So, like, year 4, I'm not saying give them one more chance, but both teams, you got to look at it in a vacuum. Like, okay,
sure,
this is year 4. The Clippers done retooled, rebooted up. Their team looks nice. Brooklyn, okay, you got Ben Simmons. He didn't play all last year. Let me see this. I already know what the other 4 guys are going to look like. You know what the star is going to look like. Let me see what the back end looks like, because now it's going to look a lot different because the East got better. So now you can't even go out there. You can't even go out there and say, well, I got Kevin Durant, so I'm going to be fine anymore. Because now you're looking at the East, and it's a dangerous game. You look at the West. Also, you can't go out there and say, oh, I got Kawhi Leonard, I'm going to be fine. I got Paul George. You can't say that because now you got these teams. So now let's look at it now in a vacuum and see how they look.
Well, with that being said, too, Riv, I mean, how many times are you going to tell me that you're giving me a sick note? How many times do I got to listen to that from you? I heard it from you already. I heard it from you once. I heard it from you twice.
I only told you once. I only told you once.
I've heard it from you more than once, more than twice. You're calling in sick. How many times are you going to call in sick? How many times are you going to tell me that you can't work today? How many times are you going to tell me that
you can't really? Come on, last year.
I'm sick of hearing that from you. Come to work. Everybody who works here isn't always 100%. There's plenty of guys here who are sick. There's plenty of guys here who don't feel good. Meanwhile, I got to deal with you on the regular. Every time I turn around, I gotta listen to the phone. You on the other end of it, yo, I can't make it in today because my back hurts.
So wait, OG,
I'm over it.
So wait, OG, all jokes aside, you putting last year I can't get that pass? Last year, Kawhi didn't play all year.
No, he didn't. But what did you tell me that Paul George did? In the playoffs? What did you tell me that Paul George did?
No, okay, not that year. I'm talking about the year that just happened.
Once again, last year against Phoenix, what did you tell me that Paul George did?
Say he choked. He did choke.
Okay, so let's rewind the clock back to in the bubble. What did you tell me that Paul George did? How many more sick notes you gonna give me, Riv? I'm over it, man.
He had mental issues.
One or two things is going on. Either come to work or don't. But don't tell me when you don't come to work that I'm coming to work tomorrow and I'm going to be so sharp. I'm over it, Riv. Come to work and do your job or don't.
I'm just telling you, this year.
Here we go.
I'm telling you, this is. I've been telling you this.
OG, if you had to put your money on one of these teams, you have to put it on.
You have to. Who you doing?
Nets or Clippers? Who are you going with?
I'm not going with Brooklyn because the Eastern Conference is a nightmare. And Leonard has proven to me in more than one instance that he can do it if he can hold up. That's the difference right there. If he can hold up, he's proven to me that he can do it in multiple situations. So if I had to put my dough on one team, it would be the Clippers.
I understand. And Brooklyn is going to have to eventually run into Philadelphia. So that's out there too.
I just can't wait till we because you're a regular guest. We love you, OG. I can't wait till you come back. And I just, when the Clippers I just can't wait for that moment. You're gonna come back. I'm telling you. Listen.
I'm first. If I gotta eat crow, I'm not one of these people that. Well, no. If I gotta eat crow, I gotta eat crow. But I don't think I'm eating it in this particular situation.
I'm telling you, man. This is a new year, new energy. You feel, PG got a haircut. He got the low cut back. It's new vibes. They taking pictures. Kawhi all happy. He got
this dude is keep giving me sick notes. That's what he's doing.
I'm telling you,
that's what he's doing. He's continuously calling in sick and telling me that I'll be in the work tomorrow and I'm gonna be so much better tomorrow. I'm sick of it.
We out of sick notes. I'm telling you today. Mark the calendar. Today, October 14th, we out of sick notes. It's no more. I'm not giving you no more sick notes. Because I'm telling you, this is the last year for me too. I'm telling you this right now. This is it for me. I can't do this no more. I'm mentally drained also. So this right here is it. No more sick notes. I'm telling you. This is it for me.
Last segment of the podcast, bold predictions for this upcoming NBA season. You can give as many as you want to give. I'll set the tone with a couple ones first. I think Benedict Mathurin will be the rookie of the year after preseason. After watching the preseason, I think I'm sold on him being rookie of the year because of the opportunity in Indiana. I think it's more than Keegan Murray in Sacramento. I think it's more than Jaden Ivey in Detroit. I think it's Paulo Banchero. I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing second fiddle to Franz Wagner this year because Franz Wagner is a very good player. And he's playing with Tyrese Halliburton, which is going to help him boost that points per game average. So that's why I have him as Rookie of the Year. RJ Barrett is an all-star player this year. He makes the all-star team.
Whoa.
Shit. That wing position tough, bro.
There's a lot of wings in the East.
That's what I was thinking, Riv. I'm thinking about the wings in the Eastern Conference. I'm thinking, yo.
There's a lot of wings in the
and I'm a huge RJ Barrett guy. I think he's the guy that the Knicks should be building it around.
RJ got New York behind him though. So if y'all
we got the fan votes behind RJ.
Definitely got the fan votes.
I'm counting on that.
Yeah. He might be starting in the All-Star game. Nice.
The Phoenix Suns will be a play-in team in the Western Conference this year.
Yep.
The Kings
will
make the playoffs. That's a very, very out there hot take. The Timberwolves first seed, I mentioned it earlier.
Yep.
Zion wins MVP. And the last one is the Sixers. My man James Harden finally gets that championship.
The Philadelphia 76ers winning the NBA championship.
All right. So I kept it to 3 because you always got to do the damn most. So for me, 1, I got Jaden Ivey winning Rookie of the Year. We talked about it before. I feel like Banchero's getting on love. Even before Shaq got hurt, he was getting on love. Jabari Smith, Keegan Murray. Nobody's talking about this young kid from Detroit. It's really nasty business. Number 2, this one is a lot biased. It's kind of like your Kings take. The Bulls are going to finish top 5 seed. That's just very. I want this year for Zach LaVine to be the number 1 guy in their offense. I've been pushing it since All-Star break. DeMar is too. He's not as versatile as Zach. Zach is he's a 3-level scorer. He's an efficient scorer, and I want him to be in more control of the offense. So I think that's one of the things I've been pushing for. So for me, the Bulls top 5 seed in the East. Detroit, that's another one for me. Same thing with your Kings. I got Detroit in the play-in as a top 8 seed. I think they right now is a lot of projection on Detroit, but they have a lot of young talent. A lot of good guys out there in that group. Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, Sadiq Bey, who people really sleep on. He's a really good player. Cade Cunningham. They picked up Bogdanovic. Isaiah Stewart, who's improving his 3-point.
Not Alec Burks.
Alec Burks, he's a good player if he's not playing the point guard position. So those are my 3 for right now. I think I'm going to stick with 3.
I only got 2. And one is Memphis and Dallas are playing teams.
We had Memphis as a playing team.
I had Memphis as a playing team. I had Dallas as a 6 seed.
I have Dallas as a 5 seed.
I think Memphis is a play-in team. Losing Jaren Jackson for as long as they're going to lose him for, that's going to really hurt them. He's their anchor on defense. He's probably their best rim protector. Add that to the fact that I think Ja at some point this season he's going to break down because he's proven to me that he has, and I think at some point this season he's going to break down. Herb Jones is the next Bruce Bowen / Metta World Peace.
I love that.
I love this kid.
OJ.
I'm gonna say it one more time for the people in the cheap seats. Herb Jones is the next Bruce Bowen / Metta World Peace.
Okay. No, OG. There's not gonna be a lot of people that's gonna challenge you because then it's gonna be like, oh yeah. Okay. Let me talk to you real quick.
I'm listening.
Because you said Metta World Peace, so I'm gonna give you some slack here. Which guy are you talking about? You talk about 20
the all league defender Metta World Peace. I'm not talking about Metta World Peace who changed his name. I'm talking about Ron Artest. That dude.
So you talk about Indiana, Chicago Bulls, Ron Artest.
I think he could be that good. I do.
On offense too, or just defense.
I think he could be that good. Yes. Okay.
We're going to double back on that one.
With watching him, number one, he's a grown-up. Played 4 years at Alabama.
Yep.
Right? Played 4 years at Alabama. He gives me the Bruce Bowen vibe of that guy who picks up not just full court, but he's a disruption on defense. He's a lot smarter than a lot of guys give him credit for. I think that once he puts that long ball in his game, just from the corner in particular, I think that he gives me a lot of Bruce Bowen and a lot of Ron Artest / Metta World Peace vibes.
I love that because I love Herb Jones. In the pre-draft process, he was one of my sleepers. I love Herb Jones' game.
I think he's and I know Riv is going to give it to me. Riv, I wouldn't be surprised in the next 3 to 5 years he's a starter on a championship team.
Oh no!
That could be the Pelicans.
I can see if Andrew Wiggins can be a starter. I can see Herb Jones being a starter on the championship team.
I think he's a starter. Do not be surprised in the next 3 years if you see whatever crew he's on that's in the Western or the Eastern Conference Championship and he's the starting small forward.
Yeah, Ron Artest is strong. Yeah, because people forget he was a 20-point scorer on top of being.
I think Ron. I think him as a defender.
Okay.
With Ron and him as an offensive player with Bowen.
Okay.
That's
so you thinking more like L.A. Ron?
Well, maybe more Sacramento Ron.
Okay.
Like the 16 a game guy.
Yeah. That's why, because when you said Bruce, I'm like, oh, I'm here with you on Bruce, and then you was like Ron, so that's why I asked you which Ron you talking about.
Yeah, because there was Houston Ron, there was Indiana Ron.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, if you was talking about Indiana Ron.
No, not that dude.
Yeah. Okay.
He was arguably the best offensive and defensive player in the game.
Yeah, so okay.
You can have that conversation about him.
Okay, so now I'm with you. Now I'm definitely I'm in on that one. I'll piggyback on that one. So do you think he stays with the Pels though?
I don't think they're gonna be able to pay everybody because they're gonna have to re-up on Brandon Ingram. Not only are they gonna have to re-up on Brandon Ingram, they just paid Zion. What's the plan with CJ moving forward? They still got to get themselves.
But you got to think they just drafted Dyson, so eventually they could move off CJ, depending on how ready Dyson is. Give Herb that money because Herb is young; he's 23. Dyson is younger. You know, CJ is more like I don't want to call him a bridge because I think he's really good, but he's like that bridge where you wait for Dyson and you still got CJ. I think CJ is still on the contract for like 2 more years. So you don't need.
I would love Herb to stay with New Orleans because they're building something down there.
Yeah,
I like what they're doing in New Orleans. They're definitely building something down there. Add that to the fact that with Zion being healthy, I think that they can make themselves really, really scary.
Yeah,
I don't like to use the word scary, but I think that they can make themselves really good, and I think Herb Jones could be a really big part of that.
The two most exciting teams in the West are the Timberwolves and Pelicans, in my opinion, and I do think the Pelicans have more top-end talent. It's really about Zion being healthy. That's really it. Because in the second season, he proved to be historic. He had a historic second year.
Hold on, run me. You think Pels got more top-end talent?
CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Jonas Valanciunas, Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado off the bench.
Yeah.
Valanciunas, who I love, by the way. When they started the season last year, 0-11, I was ready to snatch my TV off the wall because I'm thinking to myself, Valanciunas is wasting away down there. Get him out of there. He could very well be on a playoff team, but then they turned it around, so I was happy about that, no doubt.
Larry Nance off the bench as well.
Trey Murphy,
Dyson Daniels. They just have a perfect combination of vets and young players that can develop into something.
They're the baby Warriors.
And they have picks, too, in the future. So they have a lot of ammunition.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for episode 220 of the Pick a Side Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast, on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod. And shout out to OG for being on the podcast. Once again, a friend of the show. You're always welcome on Pick a Side.
Always. Hey, like I said, I don't really talk to a lot of people, but when you dudes call me, I'll make time for you guys. No doubt about it.
We appreciate that. And next time we got to have Drew, Joel here. We have to have the entire crew.
Yeah, man. No doubt.
You know you'll be back. Are you going to, is this the year you're going to lock into college, man? What's up?
Well, I'm not going to say lock into college, but I'll pay more attention.
Lock into just one team. Just get in one team, get in the zone. You know, maybe.
Here's the thing, Riv. I can't get into college basketball. I'm a pro basketball guy. The players are better. The game is better. I'm sorry.
No, it is sometimes hard to watch. Listen, I'm with you. But you got to just fall in love with the game. Man.
Yeah, man.
They be up there bricking shots. You know, I get it.
I think at this stage, OG's not going to lock into college basketball.
I wish I could say I was, man. I can't do it.
No, I get it. It'd be some nasty efficiencies in the college. I get it.
Man.
Dude shooting like 35%.
And now we got so many places where top end talent is at. G League Ignite.
Are you at least watching the G League?
I am watching the G League, yes.
All right, so then that's fine. So
there's a guy that I think he just signed with is it Indiana? I think he just signed Trevelyan Queen. Check him out. He won the G League MVP last year. He was awesome. Philly ended up bagging him, but I think that they went the other way, and then he ended up in Indiana. But this dude is a baller. 6'6" wing. He can shoot it, score on anybody. Trevelyan Queen is his name. Trevelyan Queen.
Y'all are gonna tune in. Thank you guys for listening or watching, and we'll see you next time.